Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has senju Uchiha Uzumaki bloodline. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by SSJ3 Kyuubi Gohan and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1 Don't want me, fine I'll leave. A 5-year-old boy of small stature, with a tan complexion and golden blonde hair, which was marred with dirt, was walking through his home village. Home, could he really call it that? This place is no home of mine. Thought the boy clad in a white shirt with an orange spiral in the center and black shorts, which were well aged and fraying slightly. As he walked along the streets, he felt all the disdainful glares on his back, their contempt for his very existence was rolling off them in waves. It was as if he was nothing but a pest in their eyes, taking up space, eating their food and breathing their air. Why am I even still here? I have 3 people that even acknowledge me, 2 because I eat at their restaurant, even if they do give me free meals occasionally, and the old man. If I left, would they even care? I know AM would probably be sad for a little, but I am no one special to her, she has her dad and friends as well. Ichiraku, well, I guess he will miss his best customer, but with his food, losing one customer won't really affect him that much. The old man, why does the old man even care for me? There are plenty of other orphans in the village, it can't just be because of that will of fire he keeps going on about. Thought Naruto, a scowl plastered on his face as he walked, receiving disdainful looks from both sides. Naruto finally reached the end of the market district and turned left instead of right, leading him away from his apartment. Well, if that's the case, I might as well leave and try to find someplace better. Thought Naruto resolutely as he headed towards the entrance of the sewers. As he neared the entrance, which was more or less a large manhole, his eyes quickly darted around looking around to see if anyone was looking at him. There were 2 people who were drunk and lying on the floor, no doubt unconscious, and a stray black cat looking around a trash can near the 2 drunks. Perfect. Muttered Naruto as he quickly lifted the manhole and slipped into it and then slowly pushed the cover back over and embraced the darkness. Naruto stood there for a few minutes, waiting for his eyes to adjust to the darkness, which only took a couple of seconds. Naruto always did have surprisingly strong senses, sight and hearing being the best, with smell coming in a close second. Naruto walked along the sewer heading down the right path, his small sandal-covered feet splashed against the minuscule amount of water in the sewer. Eventually reaching the end of the single-directional sewer path, the path opened up into 2 new paths, one leading to a small building underground, constructed out of steel and silver, so it didn't corrode from the sewer water, and one leading outside the village. On certain days when Naruto wanted to be alone and not have anyone glare at him, he would sneak into the sewers, since no one would voluntarily go into them. The best part was that as long as he made a noticeable appearance in the village at least once every 2 days, no one noticed he was gone. He found this particular path 6 months ago, just before his birthday. The glares were always more intense then, most becoming looks of loathing and outright hate. He had briefly entertained the notion of leaving then, but he wasn't ready to leave yet. As Naruto walked over to the metal building, he remembered all the times he snuck down here, bringing as much imperishable food he could, along with stray items like blunt kunai, broken swords and cloth. He might have only been 5, but having to fend for himself since he could walk made him grow up fast, giving him an eye for spotting the usefulness of anything and a rather perceptive mind. For this reason, when Naruto entered this building for the first time and saw all of the dead bodies, organs floating in jars, notes and medical books, he knew 2 things. The first, that whoever ran this place before abandoning it was absolutely sick, but at the same time a genius, and the second thing was that there were a lot more aspects to medical ninjutsu than just healing someone. The books he found here were initially hard to comprehend, but with the help of a handy dictionary and thesaurus, along with a rather detailed chart that was bigger than him on human anatomy, he found that something about the stuff he was reading just clicked with him. As Naruto entered the lab, he walked over to the small section he had assigned for all of his worldly possessions that he had managed to get his hands on, which just so happened to be inside a single scroll. He didn't have much aside from kunai, shuriken and ninja wire, but he had at least 3 usable swords, which if he ever learned how to forge weapons, could be melted down and reshaped into one spectacular sword. Luckily for Naruto, the lab also had many senbon needles, thousands in fact, and many vials. The best thing that Naruto found in the lab by far was the storage seal, which had multiple sealing circles. It had 7 separate circles, which Naruto took advantage of, using one for all metal weapons he had minus the senbon, one purely for the senbon and vials, one for each, and every book Naruto had found value in, one for all of his food, one for all non-metal materials Naruto had, such as the cloth he had collected via various means, while the last 2 were currently empty, as Naruto didn't have a need for them yet. The scroll was a meter in height and thus dragged on the ground when Naruto walked with it strapped to his back. Naruto sealed all the new stuff he had scrounged today before rolling the scroll up and strapping it to his back. As Naruto left the lab and headed for the path leading out of the village, he internally thanked his lucky stars that he was able to access his chakra. Granted, he didn't have good control over it, but just being able to release a small burst of chakra made him capable of using the sealing scroll. As Naruto took his first steps outside the village, he paused and took a deep breath in, while enjoying the feeling of being away from the oppressive walls of the Leaf Village, which he could see in the distance a good kilometer away. Okay, now which direction should I take? Left has worked for me so far, so left it is then, thought Naruto, before walking left aimlessly, not knowing where he was going or what he would do when he got there, only that he wanted to get away from this cursed village as soon as possible. Line break. After an hour of walking, Naruto glanced back and noticed that he could just barely make out the side of the main gate of his now former living area and couldn't help smiling. Soon I will be free of that blasted place altogether, thought Naruto in contentment as he kept walking. After a short time, Naruto spotted a building. Even though curiosity killed the cat, Naruto Uzumaki was no cat and therefore walked towards the temple. As he neared the entrance, he saw a decrepit, worn-out building, which just so happened to have the same symbol as the one on his shirt on the entrance. Naruto grabbed his shirt and looked down at the symbol, then back up to the building. This must be a sign, coincidences like this don't happen often, muttered Naruto as he entered the shrine. Within the temple, a central podium, which also had the symbol from his shirt on the top of it, had a bunch of masks hung along it. Masks? What could be so special about a bunch of masks? Asked Naruto to himself. Naruto looked at all the masks before reaching for one, but then paused halfway to it. No, something is telling me not this mask, thought Naruto in confusion as his hand hovered over the other masks until one elicited a tugging sensation from him. As Naruto grasped the mask, he felt compelled to put the mask on, almost as if it was calling out to him. As he put it on, an intense burning feeling spread through his body. It felt like he was being electrocuted as every neuron in his body started firing at full capacity, causing immense pain, while his heart pumped blood twice as fast around his tiny body. Golden spectral flames burst around his being as a specter appeared behind Naruto, not that he noticed. However, the spectral figure sensed something within the body it was currently possessing and broke off its connection, allowing the pain the boy experienced to cease as he dropped to his knees, the mask falling off his face. Do you have any idea what you have just done? Asked the specter, in a voice absent of all emotion that chilled Naruto's very being. No huff, why don't you huff, enlighten me? Retorted Naruto as he breathed heavily, trying to recover from the immense pain that had previously racked his body. You who bears the seal powered by my very essence, the very notion that you managed to summon me is quite the coincidence, however, I don't believe in coincidences, said the figure. Who are you anyway? Asked Naruto, now having regained his bearings. I am an existence as old as time, in the beginning I was there and, in the end, I shall be there as well. The only certainty in life is that sooner or later, all will come to me. No matter how hard some try to prevent it, no one is a match for death. As the Reaper of Souls I would know this fact very well, said the ghostly figure, now identified as the Reaper of Souls, death itself. Naruto looked up and gazed at the specter. It was translucent and possessed a demonic visage. It was much larger than an average human, possessing long, shaggy white hair, from which two red horns protruded, and dark grayish-blue colored skin. It was draped in large white garments and carried a set of prayer beads wrapped around its right hand. A small blade was held by the figure in its left hand, and its mouth was full of sharp, jagged teeth, as well as a very long, almost serpentine tongue. Not that I'm not thrilled about meeting the Reaper of Souls, truly, I am actually humbled getting to meet death itself while still being alive, but what did you mean when you said I have a seal powered by your essence? Asked Naruto, in what he hoped was a respectful voice. Death stared at Naruto with its cold black eyes, its red pupils focused solely on Naruto, who unflinchingly stared right back. You have courage to be able to even look at me, greater men than you have crumbled at the very notion of me, for that I applaud you. As for the seal I referenced, a foolish human who bore a close resemblance to you and now sits in my belly for eternity, summoned me in order to separate the yin and yang chakra of a tailed beast and then seal the yang chakra of the beast inside you while the yin chakra was sealed into him, said Death as Naruto stood there quietly, absorbing what he had just heard. Death has literally been claiming every single deceased person's soul since the beginning of time itself. For him to mention the human who summoned him looked like me, so let's see, the only chakra beast that could be sealed in me would be the Kyuubi, which was supposedly killed by the fourth Hokage. However, he said a human summoned him and split the beast's chakra and sealed half into me. That would mean the fourth Hokage was no doubt the one to summon death. I see my own father cursed me to a life of isolation. However, I have death standing in front of my right now, such a rare occurrence can't be ignored, thought Naruto rapidly. Why exactly did I feel compelled to wear that mask, and how did you get here? Asked Naruto, pointing to the mask that had fallen off his face. That mask, aside from the technique that the being currently in my stomach developed, is the only way to summon me to this realm. As for why you felt compelled to wear it, that is because you possess the blood of the clan which built this shrine. Answered Death in reverse order to what Naruto asked him. I see. Say Death or Reaper of Souls, whichever you prefer, would you like to make a deal of sorts? Asked Naruto bravely, locking eyes with Death. What could you possibly offer me? In time, everything shall be mine. Questioned Death, a hint of amusement entering his tone. Damn, didn't think that through. Thought Naruto. An avatar? Said Naruto cautiously. You? Well, you do possess the abilities to become an avatar of death in time. Why would I need you, since as I said, all life comes to me eventually? Asked Death. So you are perfectly content to sit back and wait for everything to come to you? Asked Naruto. Why not? Asked Death. Surely an entity as powerful as yourself would want to have some impact on the world. Pressed Naruto, trying to find something he could use to his advantage. Your efforts are amusing, but I couldn't care less about this world, honestly, to me, a million years is the equivalent to the blink of an eye. Commented Death. Well, if you have no interest, why not help me out anyway? I mean, doesn't simply waiting for souls and doing nothing get boring? Suggested Naruto. I am an entity above such emotions. I am neutrality at its finest. If the world ended tomorrow, I would not care, and if the world ends in 10 billion years, I would not care either. Said Death. Well, in that case, why not make things more interesting for me? If you don't want to have any impact on the world, why not let me, since you said everything ends with you anyway? Asked Naruto. I suppose I could. That being said, I would gain nothing, but I would also lose nothing. Very well, mortal, you have piqued my interest. I will temporarily bring back the soul of the person sealed inside of you. I will allow you one of your earthly years to train solely in the art of wielding a scythe. I will provide you one as well. The soul I bring back will also be your instructor. To test if you are worthy of my attention, I assigned you the mission of harvesting 100 souls for me within one of your human days, at the end of your year of training. The soul may come from anyone, as like I have said, I am a being of neutrality, and do not have a petty moral judgment on the souls I collect. That is the job of another, I merely harvest. Said Death, before raising his tanto and pointing at Naruto's navel, which he briefly stabbed into, before pulling it out and dragging out a spectral cloud of white smoke with it. Death raised his right hand covered in prayer beads and created a ball of ethereal flames, which he plunged into the white mass, causing it to suddenly take shape. A woman begun to take shape. She possessed long fiery red hair, a feminine build, and she was clothed in long white garments, similar to Death. When she opened her eyes, violet orbs were revealed which darted around quickly, widening slightly at the sight of Naruto, before the figure turned around and nearly died at the sight before her. I leave you with this. Said Death, as its right hand glowed an eerie black, before a long black pole started to materialize in its grip. The pole extended up to a meter, reaching Naruto's height, before a black, curved and serrated blade started growing out of the pole. The blade was 2 meters long and was serrated on the underside, while the top was smoother than humanly possible, to enable it to cut through anything with minimal resistance. The scythe was peculiar in its measurements, as most scythes had a long handle and short blade to assist in harvesting of crop, but this scythe was purely made for the harvesting of souls. Death placed the scythe down before fading away, leaving Naruto and the woman recently brought back into existence alone. So who are you exactly? Asked Naruto after a few minutes. Me? I'm your mother, you know. Said the figure claiming to be Naruto's mother. Now why exactly would Death bring you back to life of all people? I doubt Death is sentimental. Said Naruto aloud in thought. Maybe because I was the best bladed weapon user of my generation, you know. Said Kushina, with a slight tick mark on her head. I suppose that is a good enough reason, but boy is this awkward, believe it. Commented Naruto, at the strange force field-like feeling in between the two. Believe it? I guess you got a verbal tick from me after all. Commented Kushina with a smile. I suppose. Why don't you tell me a bit about yourself before we start training, since we will have a whole year together? Suggested Naruto, trying to remove some of the tension between the two. Very well, my name is Kushina Uzumaki, and my hobbies include pulling pranks and chatting. My favorite food is salt ramen, and I hate coffee and anything bitter. Said Kushina. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, but I guess you knew that already. My hobbies also include pulling pranks and watering plants. My favorite food is Ichiraku ramen and red bean soup, while my least favorite foods are fresh vegetables. Guess I know who I take after in the attitude department. Said Naruto with a small smile, which Kushina mirrored. Well, that's enough talk for now. Why don't we start trying to teach you how to wield a scythe? You only have a year after all, and a scythe is one tricky weapon to use. Said Kushina. Right. Said Naruto, as he walked over to the scythe and picked it up. Now for a scythe, the first thing you need to do is lower your center of gravity. This scythe has a particularly long blade, so to deal with this, you need to take a slightly wide stance and lean forward while keeping it close to your body. The main thing to remember is that a scythe cleaves and thus, one body blow is usually the end. In order for this to happen though, you need to be quick, hence why you lean forward. It also helps to stand on the balls of your feet to help you kick off the ground faster. Explained Kushina, which Naruto listened to before doing as told. The weight of the scythe proved too much for Naruto, and he toppled forward slightly. Best keep balancing will be my biggest problem, since I have decent maneuverability and speed, but this weight is completely throwing off my center of gravity. Muttered Naruto as he readjusted himself, getting in position again and tensing all the muscles in his legs in order to keep him upright. Okay, here is how we will start off. You need to stay in that stance, and the only thing you can move is your side. Your legs need to remain in that same position. Said Kushina. Why, what are you going to do now? Asked Naruto curiously. Me? Well, I'm going to be launching chains at you in a single linear path, and you need to either dodge or block them without moving, got it? Asked Kushina as she stepped back a bit. Got it, believe it. Said Naruto with a smile. Alright, here we go. Said Kushina before launching a chain at Naruto's right shoulder. Naruto leaned to the left, avoiding the blow, before another chain aimed at his left side shot at him. Knowing he couldn't dodge, Naruto reversed his grip on the scythe so the blade was facing down and away from him and swung the scythe in a semicircular arc which pushed the chain away from him. Well, you have quite a bit of ingenuity, that is good, as it means I can step up your training. Said Kushina before 3 chains shot at Naruto. Naruto blocked the first in a similar manner as before with his scythe, but the other 2 plowed into his stomach, launching him back a meter, with the secondary effect of pushing him over onto his back. As Naruto regained his bearings, Kushina stood there waiting. As he got to his feet, he stepped back into his original position and took the same stance. I'm ready. Said Naruto, which caused Kushina to grin. That's my little maelstrom. Said Kushina before launching another 3 chains aimed at Naruto's head and shoulders, which he blocked by using the pole of the scythe to push the chains up before another chain plowed into his stomach, sending him back again. Never haphazardly raise your guard. Opening your stomach up for attack is asking for trouble. The blade needs to be a part of you, but also needs to work with your body. Using the scythe to block something and leaving yourself open is a poor choice, when ducking would have enabled you to dodge them all and keep your guard up. Lectured Kushina. Got it, again. Said Naruto before Kushina started launching chains at him again as soon as he was back in position. The chains were coming faster now. At all times, 2 chains were passing by Naruto, but he skillfully managed to dodge 15 before one clipped his hand, which opened up his guard, allowing Kushina to hit his left shoulder. Always keep a firm grip on your weapon, even in death, you should never let it leave your hands. Said Kushina. Naruto nodded and got back into his stance before the cycle of dodge, block and get knocked back by a chain or 2 that snuck by him persisted for another hour before Kushina decided to take a break. Alright, that's enough. We will take a break for now. Said Kushina before Naruto pulled out his scroll and unsealed a protein bar which he chewed slowly. So you already know how to use seals. Commented Kushina offhandedly. The basics like sealing and unsealing, as well as the general idea behind seals, yeah, drawing or making them, no. Said Naruto as he continued to eat his protein bar. You know Uzumakis are experts at Fuinjutsu, if you like, I can teach you. Offered Kushina kindly. I'd like that. Said Naruto with a small smile which caused Kushina to smile as well. I always imagined this is what it would be like having a kid. Getting to train you in Kenjutsu and Fuinjutsu, watch over you and give you handy tips here and there. Sigh. Still, it is a shame I couldn't be with you since you were born. Said Kushina wistfully. If you don't mind me asking, how exactly did you die? Asked Naruto curiously. Kushina sighed before sitting down in front of Naruto. Naruto finished up his protein bar and looked at Kushina in anticipation. I suppose I should start from the beginning. Said Kushina before revealing everything that had happened in her life right up until her death. Line break, that's everything I suppose. Finished Kushina before looking up and seeing Naruto deep in thought. Is something the matter? Asked Kushina in concern. Yes, something is wrong, this doesn't add up. The way you described the Uzumaki barrier seal, no intruder would have been able to invade Whirlpool unless they were in Uzumaki themselves or they had the blood of one. You described tens of thousands invading, meaning that there is no way they were able to gather that much blood and thus, the only logical conclusion is that the seal was tampered with from the inside. Said Naruto ominously. That is impossible. No Uzumaki would ever sell out their village. Every Uzumaki held a frighteningly close bond with every other Uzumaki. No one would want to betray their fellow Uzumaki. Protested Kushina vehemently. Maybe it wasn't an Uzumaki, maybe it was an ally of the Uzumaki. After all, it makes sense. The first host of the nine-tailed fox was Mito and Uzumaki, and she grew frail and old, despite our longevity. The leaf knew this and also knew only an Uzumaki can hold the chakra of the fox, meaning a new, young Uzumaki needed to be attained in order to ensure they didn't lose their weapon in the form of a tailed best holder. At the time, the Uzumakis would not have wanted to give up another Uzumaki just to help the leaf, since Mito, the wife of the first Hokage, sealed the fox into herself by her own hand, and with her passing, the fox be released once again, but with Madara and the first Hokage dead at this point in time, no one else could control the fox aside from another Uzumaki. So in order to keep the strongest tailed beast, the leaf instigated a series of events in order to get their hands on another young Uzumaki who they could control, and who better than the Uzumaki who also had the ability to mold chains out of chakra, which can hold down a tailed beast. Finished Naruto. Kushina was stunned, mouth slightly agape. "It can't be, did the leaf betray us?" questioned Kushina internally. "That means that the real reason the Uzumakis were wiped out was because of the leaf," said Naruto, dropping the bombshell. Chapter 2 Kushina. After the reveal of the leaf's treachery, Kushina trained Naruto much harder than before, on occasion, accidentally running him through with her chakra chains, but Naruto recovered quite quickly from each incident, thanks to the fox. A couple months had passed before Kushina finally came to terms with what had happened to her clan, and Naruto wasn't pierced by chakra chains on a daily basis anymore. "I'm really sorry about that, by the way," said Kushina as she scratched the back of her head with a silly grin. "It is alright, with you actually trying to harm me, I have now become much better at dodging. Honestly, I think you were going easy on me at the start," replied Naruto happily. "You didn't happen to turn into a masochist, did you?" asked Kushina warily. "So what?" asked Naruto in confusion. "Nothing, never mind," said Kushina quickly. "I forgot that despite how smart he is only 5. Thought Kushina in embarrassment, realizing that if she hadn't been more tactful, she might have had to have the talk with her 5-year-old son. Boy, that would have been awkward. "Well, do you want to start sparring practice? I mean, being able to dodge almost everything won't help if I can't actually attack myself and end up getting hit with counterattacks," suggested Naruto. "I suppose, but why don't we take a break for the rest of the day and talk and start fresh tomorrow?" suggested Kushina. "Sure, I don't mind, maybe you can tell me some more stories about your life or about the Uzumaki clan," said Naruto as he sat down cross-legged in front of Kushina. "Well, I've told you just about everything about my life except for what it was like in Whirlpool, so I suppose I can tell you a bit about the Uzumaki," said Kushina before mirroring Naruto and taking a similar seating position. "Well, the Uzumaki clan in the past held close ties with the senju," began Kushina, getting a frown from Naruto. "We in fact were distant blood relatives and as a result, quite similar to each other. You see, both clans possess an incredible life source, unlike the Uzumaki though, the senju were different in the fact that their life force enabled them a strong control over an aspect of nature. Hashirama and Tobirama each had a unique nature ability in which Hashirama could control wood and life, while Tobirama had an unparalleled control of water, which no Mizukage has been able to match. Tsunade, the granddaughter of Hashirama, wields great power over the cells of the human body, capable of committing many feats, which none could surpass, except for Hashirama. The Uzumaki on the other hand, didn't have a specialized life force ability, and thus, instead of control over a specific ability, we were granted a fierce longevity, but the ability to live up to around 120 years. Sadly, very few ever reached this age, aside from a few past clan heads. Despite that though, our life force granted us immense power, which is why only an Uzumaki can contain the nine-tailed fox inside them without being torn apart from the inside, and we are the only people who have the potential to survive a tailed beast extraction, as I showed," said Kushina with a bit of pride at the end. "So, we are similar in a sense due to our life force," said Naruto slowly. "Yes, essentially, however, we also excel in sealing techniques which no one can match, your father," said Kushina, mentally noting the thinning of Naruto's lips at the mention of the person who sealed the fox into him. "Was said to be a legendary seal master, but the truth was, he was only as skilled as a middle-aged Uzumaki. The clan heads of the Uzumaki clan had seals which would make him look like a petulant child playing around with seals for fun. In fact, I helped him learn almost everything he knew about sealing, aside from the basics he learned from Jiraiya and the seal he used on the Kyuubi, which he developed on his own for the most part, only asking me to check over certain sections of it," finished Kushina. "What about those chains you talked about?" asked Naruto curiously. "Well, I wasn't the only one who could use chains, there have been some users of them in the past, but it was generally a female exclusive ability, although I think there may have been 1 or 2 male users, but I can't be sure. In any case, I was the only one of my generation to be able to use them, but that might have been because the Uzumaki clan was destroyed. It is very likely that there is at least one surviving Uzumaki out there capable of using chains, similar to me. Maybe you'll find her one day and restart the Uzumaki clan," said Kushina with a laugh. Why is that funny, wouldn't it be a good thing to restart the Uzumaki clan? Asked Naruto in confusion. Said Kushina, once again cursing for forgetting her son was only 5. Well, I suppose if you could gather up the remaining Uzumaki, you will have a better chance of restarting the clan. That being said, make sure they know about our abilities, and Uzumaki's heritage is something to be cherished. Said Kushina, skillfully avoiding the previous train of thought the conversation was heading towards. No worries. As soon as I am strong enough, I will set out and search for them. I'll make sure to rebuild the Uzumaki clan. Said Naruto firmly. Kushina smiled at this. Ever since she found out she was the only known survivor of the Uzumaki clan, she wanted to track down any who managed to flee. She wouldn't accept that she was the last Uzumaki, and hearing that Naruto would one day fulfill one of her strongest desires brought joy to her troubled heart. So Naruto, what exactly are your dreams? Asked Kushina, realizing she knew very little about her son. Well, I want to rebuild the Uzumaki clan, that's about it I suppose. Said Naruto flatly. Nothing else? Don't you want to become powerful, maybe have a family of your own, visit distant lands? Asked Kushina, prodding for more information. Not really, all I really wanted was to get away from the glares of the villagers. Said Naruto quietly, causing Kushina to fume slightly. To think me and Minato gave our lives to protect a bunch of bigots who can't tell the difference between a child and a demon fox. Thought Kushina in anger. Well, you did get away now, so isn't there anything else you want to do? There really isn't a wrong answer. Said Kushina kindly. Well, there is one thing, but you won't agree with me. Mumbled Naruto. How would you know if you never say it? Asked Kushina. I want the villagers of the Leaf to pay for what they did to me. Said Naruto hesitantly. Kushina absorbed this for a moment while Naruto looked down, thinking his mum was going to hate him now. A warm feeling wrapped around Naruto, making him feel safe and loved. He looked to his side and saw Kushina's smiling visage. Why do you look so upset? I'm your mother, aren't I? I could never hate you, you know. Said Kushina kindly as she hugged her son. But you died to try and protect the village. Said Naruto in surprise. No, I didn't. I died to protect you, to ensure you lived. It just happened to turn out that making sure you survived made sure the Leaf Village survived as well. Said Kushina sternly. Naruto stayed silent, enjoying the embrace before shifting slightly, getting Kushina's attention. I think I have another goal. Said Naruto quietly. Kushina didn't say anything and waited for Naruto to go on. I think that I want to go and help all the people like me with Biju sealed inside them. I want them to know that someone cares for them and to have them care for me. I want us to be a big happy family that can't be touched by ignorant people who will look after each other and always help each other when they need it. Said Naruto passionately. That is a beautiful goal, and I know you will succeed, believe it. Said Kushina with a smile. I will make it come true, you know. Said Naruto with his own foxy grin. Line break. The next day. Line break. Naruto stood in front of Kushina with a focused look on his face. His scythe was gripped tightly in both hands, legs and body lowered into the stance he had been practicing for ages now. Alright, are you ready? Asked Kushina. Naruto didn't speak but nodded slightly, showing he was ready. Alright, first off, I will only be using one chain to attack and defend, however, keep in mind that there are dual wielders out there, so don't think this will be as hard as things get. What I want you to start with is wide-arsed scythe swings. A scythe is normally used in a side-to-side motion or a top-to-bottom motion, as scythes are not suited to clash against gravity. The scythe will always be used to swing downwards or sidewards, never upwards. Said Kushina, getting another nod from Naruto. Okay, let's start with side-to-side swings as they are easier to master. One thing you must always remember though, is to never swing too widely. If you swing too far you will end up weakening your guard, making it easy for people to take you out, as you will be off balance. By the end of all this you will have forearms of steel to make sure when you swing your scythe it goes exactly as far as you want it to, not a single hair more or less. Said Kushina, causing Naruto's grip on the scythe to tighten. Now, attack. Shouted Kushina, to which Naruto kicked off the ground. Naruto held his right hand on top of his left. This ensured his strikes were as accurate as possible, and also meant that if he needed to free up a hand for whatever reason, his dominant right hand would have a firmer grip on the scythe to ensure he didn't accidentally drop it or become too weak in his strikes. He slashed from right to left, colliding with the chain before jumping back as it surged towards him. Naruto charged once again, while Kushina looked on impassively. He swung from right to left again, but this time, when the chain shot at him, he ducked under it and tried a left-to-right slash aimed at Kushina. Kushina waited until the blade neared her before ducking into Naruto's guard and grasped the pole before kicking Naruto in the stomach, making him flinch as all the air left his lungs, but never let go of his side. Kushina then followed up her kick with a palm thrust, causing Naruto's grip to slacken on the pole, after which she yanked it out of his arms, giving him slight friction burn. Not bad, your grip has improved a lot. If a kick to the gut didn't even shake your grip, but it needs to be stronger. said Kushina as she held the scythe back out to Naruto. Naruto's hands healed, becoming slightly more calloused in the process. It seemed the fox realized that simply regenerating the cells on Naruto's hands would do nothing to stop repeated friction burn, so it decided upon toughening up Naruto's hands. "Thanks," said Naruto as he accepted the compliment and took his scythe back. "Another thing that would be important for you to learn is how to take a hit as well as speed. As you saw, if someone is quicker than you, they can get inside your guard and nullify your scythe, meaning you will be at their mercy, and if you can't take a hit, you might just be finished," said Kushina. "So what should I do then?" asked Naruto curiously. "From now on, every day, we will have a pure taijutsu spar after sealing lessons to make sure you become fast and strong. If you rely only on your scythe in combat, losing it may just be your end, and I'm not letting some weak ninja kill my only son with a lucky shot," said Kushina. "Although I doubt Kyuubi will let him die easily anyway, it really is a curse to have a bijuu sealed inside you, but one can't deny the benefits that come with them," thought Kushina, remembering Naruto's newly calloused hands. "Got it, I will be the fastest and the sturdiest, so no one will be able to take me out," said Naruto. "Alright, let's do this again," said Kushina as Naruto got back into position. Line break. 6 months after Naruto met death. Line break. Naruto was nudged slightly from his sleeping position on the floor. He groggily opened his eyes and blearily looked at the offending appendage that had roused him from his sleep. It was Kushina's hand, so he questioningly brought his gaze up to meet hers. "Happy birthday, Naruto," said Kushina with a tender smile. It took Naruto a moment to process these words before he sat up. He scratched the back of his head a bit and rubbed his eyes before blinking a few times. He then quickly tackled Kushina with a hug and wrapped his arms around her stomach. "This is the best birthday ever," said Naruto with a sniffle. "What's wrong, you can't be sad on your birthday," chided Kushina softly. "I know, but usually on my birthday people would actually insult me and sometimes even throw stuff at me instead of ignoring me like they usually do," said Naruto sadly. Kushina hugged Naruto closer. "It's alright. You have me with you now and the villagers won't be able to touch you ever again," said Kushina, even though the words felt hollow in her mouth. Death had said he would only bring her back temporarily, which probably meant that at the end of the year, Death had allocated for Naruto to train, he would in fact have to lose her. The thought caused a bittersweet feeling to swell up in Kushina's chest. On the one hand she got to see, train, talk to and help guide her son, and he also got to have a mother for the first time in his life. On the other hand, however, she was going to have to leave soon, which meant Naruto, after having a mother for only a year, would have to lose her. Fate sure can be cruel sometimes, thought Kushina as she continued hugging the child, whose arms had a death grip on her sides. "Naruto, well, I don't have a present for you now, there is something I want you to have," said Kushina as Naruto pulled back somewhat but didn't let go. On the outskirts of the village, on the northern side behind the Hokage monument, there is a building. The building will be destroyed, but there will be a tree behind it with a spiral carved into it. When you find it, swipe some blood on the spiral and you will receive the gift from me to you for all the birthdays I've missed and all the ones to go," said the redhead before spending the rest of the day playing and laughing with her only son as he finally experienced what a birthday should be like. Line break. 1 year after Naruto met death. Line break. "Now Naruto, I want you to remember these words carefully, it will be the most important advice I have for you," said Kushina seriously, with her hands on his shoulders, crouched down so she could look him directly in the eyes. Naruto focused his eyes on Kushina's intensely, making sure he heard all she had to say. "From today, you are a proud ninja of Yuzu, never forget who you are and always carry yourself with pride. Some say pride is a sin, but as one of the last Uzumaki your pride is what is needed to bring the Uzumaki back to glory. Lastly, when you take a life, do not dwell on it. Many have killed some, and some have killed many, but at the end of the day, cherish that you and your loved ones are still alive. If anyone should try to hurt that which is close to you, show them no mercy and feel no regret. One can kill thousands and as a ninja you will have to kill, but do not do so needlessly. Life is precious and must be respected, however, even more important than life is love. Do not love easily or carelessly, love is precious, the bond between two people can take down what one who is on their own would fall to. Never forget though, that I will always be proud of you and that I will always love you," said Kushina softly as tears trickled down her face. Naruto too was in tears and embraced his mother in a soft hug, one filled with love and emotion, knowing that this was mostly likely the last time he would see her. Death was hovering off to the side silently and let them have their moment. Well, to him it made no sense, as when the boy died, he would be reunited with his mother, he let them do as they wished. Mortals truly confuse death, but to be fair, he never really cared much for them anyway. Why should death care for the actions of those who would all come to him in time? Kushina pulled back before standing up. Naruto took one last look at Kushina before walking over to Death and nodding. Death's hand glowed before it seemingly pierced the air. When the hand was pulled back, a small purple vortex was revealed, which steadily grew until it was 2 meters in diameter. Naruto nodded before walking into the portal, and upon doing so was whisked away to a random location. "It is time," said Death. "I know," said Kushina with a sigh as she started to fade away into nothingness. Her feet disappeared first and slowly the rest of her body started to vanish. When only her head was left, she had one last thought before she closed her eyes and vanished. Good luck, Naruto. Chapter 3 Biting the Hand That Once Fed You. A small tear in space appeared in a valley currently shrouded in mist. The tear widened and lengthened until it was 2 meters in diameter, at which point a blonde-haired boy, wearing a black cloak with a mask and the motif of a demon strapped to his waist stepped out of it. The boy had no shirt on, despite the cool conditions, and only had tattered dark brown shorts on, in addition to the cloak. Wrapped around his torso were 2 separate layers of material, made of various separate pieces of clothing stitched together crudely, strapped diagonally to his body, forming a large cross shape on his back. A scythe rested on the intersection of the cross with a third strap of material holding it in place which wrapped over the boy's stomach, just above his navel. As the boy stepped out of the tear in space, it slowly disappeared, leaving him in the misty terrain. "It is time," said Naruto as he strapped his mask on. The act of doing so was not only symbolic but served another purpose as well. Naruto knew from the very beginning that his hands would be heavily stained in blood in order for him to achieve his goals, lofty as they may be. For this reason, once Naruto donned the mask, he was no longer Naruto, but rather, he was the will of the Uzumaki, and nothing would stop him. No man, woman or child would ever stop the will of the Uzumaki. Naruto walked through the mist, not sure where he was going, but followed his instincts. His scythe seemed to know where to go in any case, as it subtly tugged him without him realizing. 100 souls would meet death today, and the scythe knew it. Naruto walked in silence, his footsteps as silent as the grave, thanks to years of needing to sneak around for whatever reason, be it stealing or leaving a scene discreetly. The mist started to form shapes, people were now visible, or at least their silhouettes were. Naruto's keen eyes picked out the form of 2 adults, one appeared to be male, while the other was female. Naruto ghosted through the mist, slowly approaching them as they walked, not making a single sound when the males suddenly pulled out a kunai. Naruto reached back and gripped his scythe preparing for a fight, but instead was surprised when the man stabbed, who Naruto perceived to be his comrade, in the back over her stomach and held the blade in place. "Your village thinks that by giving us your head we won't get in their way, but this is only a small piece of our hatred, your village is foolish," said the man, before jumping back as the woman slumped to the ground, just as hundreds of kunai and shuriken rained down from the sky on her position. "Is this how it ends?" thought the woman, before hearing lots of clanging of metal on metal, instead of feeling sharp steel pierce her body, before her vision started to blur. "I already had something against all of you due to your part in the destruction of my clan, however, you now just gave me a reason to make you my first 100, said a soft-spoken voice. "Who are you, some snot-nosed brat?" snorted the man, who had previously stabbed the woman, who was currently semi-conscious, able to listen in, but unable to move. I am not a person. I am the will of the Uzumaki and as of today, your reaper," said Naruto, as he disappeared in a burst of speed and tried to bisect the man from the head down. The man, wearing a mist forehead protector, raised 2 kunai and crossed them over his head blocking the side, but was shocked when he felt something sharp stab through his left lung. Shakily looking up he saw he had only blocked the pole, while the blade had slipped under his overhead guard. How?" gasped the man, knowing he was finished, the serrated blade which had plunged into his lungs, made every breath agonizingly painful. "This scythe is no ordinary scythe," said Naruto, as the blade glowed a bright white, before going pitch black, after which it returned to its normal silver state. The man's eyes were glassy white once the glowing stopped, and Naruto kicked his body of his scythe, before giving his scythe a swift whirl, causing its blade to be unblemished once again. 99 to go, mumbled Naruto, before 12 ninja jumped down from the surrounding valley outcrop. The 12 charged in a single line at Naruto before breaking off into groups of 3 surrounding him. "Water style. Water trumpet," cried 12 different voices from around Naruto. Having no other choice, all the while knowing how disadvantageous it would be, Naruto jumped high, but kept his scythe held down to reduce his height and allow him some maneuverability. 2 new ninja jumped at him, each brandishing a kunai, looking to rend Naruto's head from his body. Naruto slackened his grip on the scythe, letting it pick up some speed as it started to fall, before grasping it once again resulting in him being pulled down, allowing him to avoid the 2 kunai, which then clashed against one another. Taking the chance, Naruto used the falling momentum to spin around and rip through both ninja from the groin up, going through a full revolution and covering himself in blood and innards. 3. Uttered Naruto emotionlessly, before 4 of the group of 12 went through hand signs, while the other 8 launched a multitude of shuriken. The 4 clapped their hands together, and a gale of wind burst out and sped up the shuriken, which tore into Naruto, sending viscera and blood everywhere. As the body started to fall, it was replaced by the torso of the first ninja Naruto took out. The four wind users simultaneously fell to the ground as the head slipped off their shoulders with a dull thud. 7. Said Naruto before charging the remaining 8. During his charge, 12 more ninja dropped down to reinforce the remaining 8, but Naruto continued charging undeterred. In a move none of the ninja were expecting, Naruto took his right hand off the side and reached into his coat before throwing 4 senbon at the group of 20. The group scattered, 6 jumped to the right and 14 to the left, but the 6 suddenly dropped to the ground, frothing at the mouth, as they had missed the fact that the 4 Naruto threw initially were to get their attention so they wouldn't see the 10 he threw off to the right. Naruto internally lamented the fact that they didn't split evenly, as this meant he wasted 4 needles. 13. Said Naruto darkly, before he seemingly shimmered out of view and suddenly appeared behind the group of 14. 27. Said Naruto panting, just before he dropped to his knees and gasped while clutching his left leg, which he slightly overextended during his last move. Still, the 14 couldn't capitalize on this moment of weakness as they all suddenly found their heads missing. Naruto stayed down, clutching his leg, when 3 more ninja dropped down. "What the hell, this brat almost took out the whole platoon," ranted one of the 3, who looked clearly agitated. "Well, he looks tired now, what do you think we should do with him?" asked one of them sinisterly as the 3 were finally within half a meter of Naruto. 30. Said Naruto, before slumping to the ground as he slammed a vial on the ground, which released a pale white gas, almost identical to the mist surrounding the area. Must have been a dud, nothing happened," said the first man before walking over to Naruto and kicking him across the ground. Not so tough now, are you kid?" he sneered. Naruto suddenly sat up straight at the waist before looking straight at the man. "You lose," said Naruto before the man knew no more. 3 headless bodies lumped to the floor in reality, while Naruto took his time getting up, coughing heavily as he tried to do so. Well, Kushina was brutal on him at times, having to fight 30 is nothing like fighting 1. It was only Naruto's luck that they were only genin with a few lucky, or in this case unlucky, chunin. It seemed they had planned the ambush from the beginning and the woman was taken unawares. Luckily for Naruto though, since 30 jounin would have easily crushed him, even 3 would have done the deed easily. Naruto strapped his scythe to his back and slowly walked over to the still bleeding out woman, checking her over. She seemed to be from a different village than those 30 Naruto had just taken out, her clothes being a rather large indicator since they were clearly suited for warmer climates. Upon closer inspection, she seemed to be bleeding out very slowly. Luckily, the kunai was still wedged in her back and thus her blood loss was somewhat mitigated. Nonetheless, she seemed to have bled out already, roughly a quarter of a liter, not a life-threatening amount, but definitely enough to weaken someone and possibly knock them out. "Now tell me, why should I not make you number 31? Asked Naruto coldly as he placed the scythe blade very close to her head. "Help you, wheezed the woman tiredly. "What do you have of interest?" asked Naruto uncaringly. "Scorch release," said the woman before passing out. That is indeed a rare ability," said Naruto aloud to himself as the woman was now well and truly unconscious. "I guess it is your lucky day then," said Naruto, taking off his mask and strapping it back to his waist before he bent over the woman, plucked the kunai from her back and cleaned and dressed her wound. After the initial management of the wound was taken care of, Naruto hefted her onto his shoulder, finding that she was quite lighter than she appeared, possibly due to the blood loss. Naruto walked out of the valley and found a small dry area under a few trees to set her down. Being exhausted after his ordeal, Naruto sat back against another tree and closed his eyes to rest. Line break. After a couple hours or so, Naruto opened his eyes wide in surprise, feeling a hand pressed against his mouth and a kunai against his throat. He gazed impassively into the light brown eyes of his would-be assassin. "I should kill you right now, the only reason I'm not is because you are a child and you did somewhat look after my wound. Now tell me who you are and what village you belong to as well as what you are doing here." No one was supposed to know of this meeting outside of Sand and Mist, and since I've never seen you before and you just butchered a platoon of Mist shinobi, you clearly don't belong to either, said Pakura in a low tone of voice, almost whispering the callous threat before removing her hand. "Who I am? I am Naruto Uzumaki, I belong to no village, I am a civilian," said Naruto before feeling the blade press deeper into his throat. "Don't lie. No civilian can butcher that many ninja and not react at all. In fact, most civilian would be dead before they even knew it if they tried to take out a group of ninja. Now tell me the truth," demanded Pakura harshly. "Fascinating," said Naruto in awe, confusing Pakura. "What do you mean?" questioned Pakura. Naruto leant forward, pressing the blade further into his throat, drawing a small drop of blood. "Your eyes, still full of pride and a sense of duty for your village, the same village which very clearly just set you up to die. Fascinating that you are still loyal to them," said Naruto in slight amusement with a small grin. "I am a shinobi, my life is dedicated to my village," said Pakura quietly. You don't believe that, you fear death, you don't want to die. It is not for selfish reasons though, you honestly still want to serve your village in some way by trying to find out who I am, even if you don't realize it. You believe you are doing this for yourself, but you are not," said Naruto darkly as he grasped the blade against his throat. "You don't want to kill me, you are angry at your village for throwing your life away and lashing out accordingly," said Naruto as he tried to pull the blade off his neck only to be met with resistance. "Did I say you could move?" questioned Pakura darkly. "Very well, kill me then, kill the person who saved your life," prompted the blonde as he took his hands off the blade. "I don't fear death, do you?" "Clearly you do, since your near-death experience has shaken you," continued the enigma that was Naruto Uzumaki. "I can make you fear death, I am skilled at torture, and I can have you groveling at my feet in minutes," threatened Pakura. "So you don't want to know?" questioned Naruto disinterestedly. "Know what?" asked Pakura. "The answer to your question, of course, you cut me off after all," replied Naruto cheekily. "What?" replied Pakura with narrowed eyes. "You wanted to know what I was doing here, correct?" probed Naruto. "Indeed, what are you doing out here?" asked Pakura, pulling herself together. "I am here to kill 100 people, regardless of who they may be," said Naruto coldly. "Why?" asked Pakura with a raised eyebrow. "Do I need a reason? Wars have been started for petty reasons, at the very least, doing this is an act not motivated by material gain or some other trivial reward," said Naruto offhandedly. "So you just decided to kill 100 people for no reason? That's insanity," commented Pakura dryly. "No, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I on the other hand am not expecting any results, I am doing it for the sake of doing it," replied Naruto coolly. "How old are you anyway?" 7. 8. questioned Pakura with narrowed eyes. "Does it matter? I am the reason you are alive now and to repay my kindness you interrogate me," said Naruto. "I heard what you said before I passed out, if I didn't reveal that I had scorch release, you would have killed me too," retorted Pakura. "Ah, I suppose you got me there, but I didn't, did I? Doesn't that at least earn me the right to be able to speak without a blade to my throat?" questioned Naruto. "What is to stop you from trying to kill me if I do?" asked Pakura mockingly. "Why would I want to harm someone just like me? Betrayed by your village, set up to die and merely a pawn to be sacrificed in the end. The hand which once fed you has signed your death warrant, after all, those butchered ninja, they were certainly not what your village wanted of you, no, they wanted you to obediently walk to your death and die like a weak dog. Why would I kill someone with no reason to live, it would be pointless," said Naruto rhetorically before pushing the blade off his throat, standing up and walking back in the direction of his kills. "I'm not stopping for you, princess, so if you don't want to be left here alone with nowhere to go, you better hurry up," said Naruto as he continued leisurely walking away. "DCH jackass," mumbled Pakura. "Line break, where are you going now anyway?" asked Pakura as they walked closer to the ravine after catching up to Naruto and walking in silence for some time. "That's easy, to get 70 more sets of blood on my hands," said Naruto flatly. "And you still won't say why?" asked Pakura in confusion. "I already told you why, but you didn't understand, so drop it, you don't have to follow me after all. You can always go back to the village that betrayed you, the village you are at war with, the village that will breed you for your bloodline, the village that tried to kill you for petty revenge and also hates bloodline holders, or the village of ultimate hypocrites, your choice," said Naruto coldly. "So, you are from the Leaf then?" asked Pakura, slowly piecing together what Naruto said. "You're smarter than I gave you credit for, but yes, I was born in that despicable village, but I am not from there. I may have had to grow up there for years, but I will never associate myself with that cancer of humanity," said Naruto angrily. Pakura went silent, not knowing what to say and honestly, didn't care too much, it was his life after all. "So what are you going to do now anyway?" asked Naruto. "I am following you," replied Pakura with a small smirk. "Funny," said Naruto with a small smile of his own as he too continued walking. "What is your name anyway?" asked Naruto offhandedly. "Why?" asked Pakura suspiciously. "Unlike the people I plan to kill, I prefer to know the names of the people I spare, so I will know in the future if I made a mistake and change my ways accordingly," said the Uzumaki. "Pakura of the Sand," said Pakura. "Interesting, you are still aligning yourself with the very same village that tried to kill you," said Naruto slowly. Pakura went to say something before Naruto raised his hand. "I would prefer if you stay here for now, outside this small grove is something I must handle alone," said Naruto as he strapped his mask back on before dashing off. "There is something not right with that kid," muttered Pakura to herself, opting to stay where she was, seeing no need to get involved in Naruto's business. Although, he did make a good point, where am I going to go now, all my options look bleak at best, the Leaf seems like the best choice, but based on that kid, maybe they aren't all that. thought Pakura before hearing the clash of metal on metal and a loud cry of pain and looked to see what was happening. Line break. 8 Mist Ninja on border patrol had just stumbled upon the gruesome sight of 30 fellow Mist Shinobi butchered or beheaded. It looked like whatever killed them changed how it killed them every few seconds. "This is horrible," said a genin. "This is war, harden your heart because if this isn't happening to us, we will be the ones doing this," said a jounin. "You mean we will have to butcher our enemies without remorse like a monster?" questioned a female kunoichi who was slightly hysterical. "Oh, I wouldn't call myself a monster," said a voice from seemingly all around the Mist Ninja. "Show yourself," demanded the other jounin. "If you insist," said the voice before a small child of 6 years or so walked out into the open. "It's just a kid. Look, that was pretty scary and all, but go home before you get hurt, this isn't a place for children," said one of the genin with a laugh as he walked over to Naruto. "I know," said Naruto before a rapid series of movements occurred in a few seconds. First, Naruto swung his scythe from its position on his back with his right hand, sweeping it across his body to the left. Next the first jounin who spoke appeared to the right of the genin and tried to pull him back while drawing a kunai. Then Naruto's scythe met the blade of the genin now lacking his left hand, which had just been sliced off in between the two blades. "Aw!" cried the genin, giving a blood-curdling scream of pain. "Shit, run all of you, he needs medical aid. The two of us will take care of this kid, but in the meantime, you 6 go and get help now, if you get there fast enough, you might be able to save the hand, now go," said the jounin, barking orders to everyone. Another genin quickly grabbed the dismembered hand and slung the distressed boy's unharmed arm over his shoulder before taking off with the rest following. "To jounin. I'm not sure whether that makes me lucky or unlucky," said Naruto conversationally as he jumped back. "You're no normal kid, Yugura will like you," said the other jounin as he came to stand next his partner. Both jounin wore the standard Mist Shinobi jounin uniform, except the one who just spoke had a sword strapped to his back, a small tanto. The sword wielder had dark blue hair while the other had brown hair. "Sorry, but I've had enough Cage try to manipulate me in my lifetime to last me for a while," said Naruto before charging the pair. The sword-wielding member of the duo pulled his tanto off his back and met Naruto's blade head-on and easily overpowered him. "Heh, no matter how good you might be with a scythe, your brute strength can't compare," said the jounin before kicking Naruto in the face, sending him up in the air. While this clash occurred, the other jounin was not idle and launched a multitude of shuriken at the airborne Naruto and all around him. Not having enough time to substitute, Naruto curled up into a ball and protected his face and vital organs and took the full brunt of the attack on his arms, which stung in pain at having chunks of metal forcefully shoved into them. Naruto flipped in the air and landed outside of the range of the shuriken scattered on the ground and quickly pulled out 2 kunai which he launched at his adversaries. The 2 jounin didn't even blink and batted the blades away before converging on Naruto's position. In the time it took for them to bat the kunai away and charge Naruto, Naruto pulled out the shuriken embedded in his arms and threw them back at their original senders before charging the one who had kicked him in the face with his scythe. Naruto swung downwards aiming to dismember the swordsman but found his attack blocked by an upwards block. After blocking, the Mist Ninja swung both his sword and Naruto's scythe to the side and opened up Naruto's guard before kicking him in the left side of his ribs. The second ninja was waiting for an opening and launched a few small bullets of water at Naruto, which caused him to cough up blood as they painfully struck his right side. Naruto slumped to the ground, dropping to one knee as the pair charged him once again. Naruto gripped his scythe and prepared to defend himself when an overwhelming heat surrounded him, causing him to close his eyes lest he be blinded. When he looked again, he saw 2 smoldering corpses, which looked severely dehydrated. "You're not bad kid, but you are still just a kid, consider us even now," said Pakura as she stepped in his line of vision. "I didn't need your help, I was perfectly fine on my own," said Naruto, inwardly thinking he was always alone as he took his mask off. "Besides I'm fine," said Naruto raising his arms to show Pakura as steam came off the puncture wounds. "Arrogant, aren't you? A child really should know his limits, rapid healing or not, if I wasn't here just now, you would be dead," said Pakura as her gaze bore into Naruto's skull. "The same could be said for you," replied Naruto, staring back at Pakura. "In any case, I repaid you for saving my life, you're on your own from this point," said Pakura as she turned around and walked away. "And you're not?" asked Naruto, halting her in her tracks and causing her to look over her shoulder at him. "No, well the major 5 are out of the option, there are many other villages I could join which would be happy to have me and not try to exploit me, on the other hand, I am a well-seasoned jounin and can take care of myself if need be," said Pakura before facing forward and walking away once again. "Fine, we're even," said Naruto sharply before dashing off in the direction that the Mist Genin had fled. Line break. Damn, what was I thinking, getting attached to someone. I should know by now, I can't trust anyone, no one. thought Naruto harshly as he followed the weak scent of the genin before abruptly stopping. Naruto looked a little off to his left. In the distance was a medium-sized building. However, that is not what was important. No, the building bore a striking resemblance in structure to that of the ninja academy back in his old village. It couldn't be, could it? Thought Naruto with a laugh as he changed his path to get closer to the building. The building was still heavily shrouded in mist, but it was clear that the various rooms inside it were classrooms. Naruto gave a hollow chuckle before taking a deep breath and strapping his mask on once again. It is time. The soon-to-be-appointed Avatar of Death said before disappearing and starting the bloodshed. Chapter 4 Fox in Sheep's Clothing. Man, I really hate this. I just know the next few years are going to be a pain, but it has to be done. Thought Naruto tiredly. The now 7-year-old Naruto softly walked in the direction of his least favorite place in the world. The village hidden in the leaves. Naruto could just briefly see the large structures making up the gate to the village and was already starting to develop a small scowl before he quickly wiped it off his face. This has to be done, just bear it for now, you've already dealt with it for a few years, a few more won't hurt. Muttered Naruto to himself, but even he didn't believe his own words. Having grown a little bit, Naruto was now able to carry the scroll filled with all his possessions comfortably without having it drag on the ground. He was still slightly short for his age, but his sporadic eating was to blame for that more than anything else. His scythe was still strapped to his back, but there was now cloth covering the blade, making for a less imposing sight. His hair was just as unruly as it had been before he left, however his sideburns were short and well trimmed. Naruto ventured to where he knew the entrance to the sewer that would lead him back to the lab was, before pausing to glance at the village in the distance. Prepare yourself, Leaf Village, your judgment is coming. Naruto said with steely eyes, before disappearing from view. Line break. Naruto softly pushed the manhole open and surreptitiously glanced around, making sure no one was around, before emerging from the hole. Quickly covering the manhole once again, Naruto then stood to his full height before heading off to his apartment, all the while sticking to the shadows and back alleys. Luckily for Naruto, it was late at night and no one was awake aside from the few guards and patrol units prowling the village. Reaching his apartment, Naruto looked at the graffiti scrawled on his door and laughed hollowly. Before sneaking around the back and entering through one of his windows. No civilian had ever gone inside Naruto's apartment because it was, as they like to say, the demon's den, but of the few that had tried, all found that the whole door was one big booby trap and that trying to open it led to something pushing the person away or blasting them with a knockout gas, and if the invader was really persistent, getting stones launched at them. It was a childish trap that no ninja would fall for, not even a genin, but it did its job of keeping the particularly drunken brave, or rather stupid civilians at bay. Naruto upon entering his house cringed slightly at the smell of rotten food. Next time I leave the village and plan on returning after a while, I need to throw away anything that can rot. Commented Naruto as his fruit basket looked like a gigantic mass of fungus. Naruto walked closer to the fruit basket in disdain before his eyes gleamed in curiosity. Although, I may just be able to use the situation to my advantage. Mold is something that can be very useful on a biological level, and if for nothing related to ninja matters, it can cripple a country's crops. This might have been a lucky break for me. Muttered Naruto before pulling the massive scroll off his back before unrolling it about halfway, after which he placed the fruit basket on an empty circle and channeled some chakra, causing it to disappear. Rolling the scroll up before putting it on his back again, Naruto stood up. Now, time to remove the fog. Thought Naruto before molding a large amount of chakra which seemed to seep into his apartment before vanishing. Ah, that was really unpleasant. Muttered Naruto as he stretched his neck from side to side. Time to put my plan into action. Thought Naruto with a smile. Line break. Life at the village for Naruto was virtually unchanged from how it had been before he left, being ignored along with the occasional disdainful glare from someone particularly aggressive being sent his way. This, however, worked extremely well for Naruto, as no one seemed to realize that he had vanished for 2 years, as even if he had been there, no one would have cared, and thus, no one even seemed to notice he was gone. Naruto made sure to keep a relatively low profile for the most part, as him suddenly showing up and causing a ruckus was sure to draw attention, and so he limited his time outside to only an hour a day at the most, or at least, during which time he didn't hide. Truthfully, Naruto spent most of his day prowling around the village, studying anyone and everyone, trying to find something he could use to his advantage. He found a particularly promising avenue in the form of Yakumo Kurama. She displayed talent and a strong connection to her emotions, something which Naruto could work with. What made carrying out his plan difficult was that she had a great deal of scrutiny on her. Not only did she have a rather weak-willed sensei in the form of Kurana Yuhi, but the Hokage himself was also keeping an occasional eye on her. Naruto acknowledged that getting noticed was not the best idea, so he bided his time until the right opportunity presented itself. Which luckily came a month later. Line break. But why Kurenai-sensei, why are you giving up on me? Pleaded Yakumo Kurama, a girl with light brown hair and eyes, coupled with pale skin, desperately clutching her bed sheets in sadness. I'm sorry Yakumo, I really am, but I don't believe I am capable of helping you become an active ninja. I'm so sorry. Replied Kurenai Yuuhi, a woman with wine-red eyes and black hair, clad in a strange thorn-like dress. So just like that you are giving up on me. Why? Questioned Yakumo tearfully, as her body shuddered in grief. Kurenai knelt down so she was now eye level with Yakumo. I'm sorry Yakumo, this breaks my heart, but I don't want to get your hopes up. Said Kurenai, trying to reason with the girl. Yakumo didn't respond and kept crying, which caused Kurenai to grimace as she took this moment to place Yakumo under a sleep-inducing genjutsu before sealing away her powers. Kurenai laid the girl down and tucked her into bed before leaving with one last sad sidelong glance. I'm sorry. Kurenai muttered one last time before closing the door. Don't be, you did me a great favor. Said Naruto as a portion of the wall opposite Yakumo's bed suddenly morphed before revealing his smirking visage. Now I could break the seal right now, however, this sealing may just help further my plans just a little more. I should give it a few more days, but soon Yakumo, you will be mine. Muttered Naruto before fading away again, leaving the heartbroken girl alone. Line break. True to Naruto's words, as he continued to observe Yakumo, he noticed she initially closed herself off to everyone before slowing coming out of her self-imposed silence and begun to reflect on what had happened to her. I was betrayed. I was tossed aside because I was weak and frail. Muttered Yakumo despondently. Frail you may be, but weak, you most certainly are not. Echoed a voice from within Yakumo's room. Yakumo looked up in surprise before narrowing her eyes as she tried to pick out where the voice came from, before finally settling on the portion of the wall directly in front of her. See, you were able to spot me within my genjutsu, something which not even most Anbu can do. Is someone who can do that truly weak? Questioned the voice before the section of wall shimmered, revealing a blonde-haired boy not much older or younger than Yakumo. Who are you? Questioned Yakumo suspiciously. Really? You didn't know of the pariah of the Leaf Village? I figured a fellow user of genjutsu would be able to see what is happening in this village, perhaps I gave you too much credit. Said Naruto in surprise, trailing off at the end. What do you want? Yakumo asked with some disdain. What I want? What I want is not important. No, I am here to help you get what you want. Said Naruto with a grin. How exactly can you do that? The best medic ninja in this village have been unable to help me. How can a 6-year-old boy do what hundreds of experienced adults could not? Questioned Yakumo skeptically. Firstly, I am 7, same as you. As for the how, well, those medics who looked after you had other things going on in their lives and have an ingrained doctrine that they follow. For instance, if someone has a problem with a vessel in their heart, the medics try to heal said vessel instead of grafting another one, which, while also delicate work, would work out better in the long run. What many don't know about the mystical palm technique is the drawback it has to the person it is being used upon. Excessive chakra antibodies and a smaller chakra capacity, just to name a few, but they are not the worst side effect. You see, the technique is not a true healing technique, rather it is a temporary fix and a crude one at that. If anyone cared to notice, as the same area is repeatedly healed, it becomes more prone to injury and weaker because it does nothing for the individual as a whole and only looks at them as a collection of tissue, although I believe I am rambling now. Let me spare you the technical details of it, but what I have is a solution to your walking problem. I can make your legs strong and allow you to walk like a normal person. I wish I could say I could help you run as well, but I need help for that. However, if you trust me, I can ensure you will be able to run in no less than 7 years. Said Naruto. Yakumo stared at Naruto with an unreadable expression for a few minutes before answering. If you can make it so I can walk normally, I will trust you. Said Yakumo simply. Before that though, let me ask you one question. What do you think of Kurenai? What do you think of the Hokage who ordered your powers to be sealed? What do you think of this village as a whole? I don't want an answer right now, but think about it. The ones who are supposed to help you, cursed you, and the one who many believe is a demon, will now help you walk normally, a feat they all thought to be impossible. When you are ready, tell me what it is you think. Said Naruto before he walked up to Yakumo and withdrew a syringe from inside a pocket of his tattered brown shorts. In 3 days you will feel a slight tingling in your legs. By the 5th I suggest you try to move your legs lightly, wiggle your toes, bend your knees and massage your legs. If you do that for an hour a day, after the 5th day by this time next week, you will be able to walk without any pain, and if you keep doing so by the time 14 days from now have passed, you will have enough strength in your legs to walk unaided for as long you want and even slowly jog. Give it time though and don't push it. Said Naruto before he injected half a syringe full of an odd-looking green liquid into Yakumo's left leg before injecting the rest into her right leg on the lateral aspect of her thighs. I'll be back in 2 weeks, oh, and do think of what I said. Said Naruto before fading from view once again. Line break. After leaving Yakumo, Naruto set out to find what his mother had left for him. It was laughably easy sneaking around the Hokage monument. For such a vast and important structure in terms of history, it was woefully unprotected. It baffled Naruto how lax the leaf had grown since the third had taken over again, but Naruto wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Stumbling across a busted-up building, no larger than a shed, almost appearing to be a single-bedroom apartment, Naruto observed the area around it. It was clear a battle had been fought here sometime in the past, and that no one had saw fit to fix the building, or even clean the area up. The blonde circled around the building once, before heading to what appeared to be the back of it, which was hard, given that the building had been thoroughly brought to the ground. Naruto's keen eyes spotted the tree which had a small spiral, no larger than his fist, carved into the aged wood of the moderately sized oak tree. Placing his hand against the wood, Naruto traced the curve fondly, knowing that his mother had been the one to carve it. Bringing his thumb to his mouth he bit in swiftly and drew blood before slathering it on the tree, along with sending a burst of chakra from his hands into the plant, causing a cloud of smoke to appear and reveal a scroll, now resting gently in his hand. Naruto opened it and noticed it had more things sealed into it. Deciding not to stick around any longer, Naruto placed the scroll into his cloak and took it to his lab to investigate the contents of it. What he found caused him to laugh heartily and smile in unrestrained excitement. "Thank you, mother, I would be sure to get justice for you," thought Naruto. Line break. After Naruto had left Yakumo, the Kurama clan heiress did exactly as Naruto had instructed. At first she was skeptical, but after 3 days, she did begin to feel it tingling, and by the 5th, she started moving her legs lightly and felt no pain. By day 7, she was even walking around her room without any pain at all by the time 2 weeks had passed. When Naruto showed up, she slowly walked up to him and hugged him with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," Yakumo whispered. "This is only the beginning," replied the blonde as he smiled over Yakumo's shoulder. Chapter 5 Playing God. After Yakumo had steadied herself, Naruto told her that he would need to stay away from her for some time now to avoid any suspicion falling onto him, but that in a few years, they could both attend the ninja academy and interact there. Yakumo understood and nodded sadly. They decided that they would explain her being able to walk as a result of her using her particularly powerful genjutsu on herself to cause her mind to perceive her legs as fully functioning, thus enabling them to actually become so. The medic ninja were understandably shocked, however, as there was an explanation for it, albeit one met with a great deal of skepticism. They were forced to accept it, as the results spoke for themselves. Yakumo also explained that it only worked on her and wouldn't work on others, because it was only possible due to her body's innate ability to use very strong genjutsu that she was able to do so to herself. Due to this, further investigation into the matter was stopped, as it was accepted that it would only work on a very powerful genjutsu user, such as Yakumo herself, with strong innate abilities, the likes of which no one else in the Leaf Village possessed to their knowledge. Naruto discreetly kept an eye on Yakumo to ensure nothing that would hinder either her or his plans for her occurred, but at the same time, shifted his attention to the only other thing which had caught his attention in the village. The Uchiha clan. Naruto had followed members of the clan without their knowledge and had observed great disdain for the village among many and at least some degree of annoyance from all of them. However, Naruto didn't care for the masses, no, he cared for one particular person who had caught his attention. From her reserves and mannerisms, Naruto was able to deduce that she too was a genjutsu specialist. What really made her stand out to him, however, more so than any one thing, was that Naruto realized exactly who this woman was. This woman was one of the only friends his mother had made in the village that she held dear to her heart. This woman was none other than Mikoto Uchiha. Naruto spent most of his time following Mikoto in her day-to-day routine and after 3 weeks had every single detail about her memorized. From the time she woke up at 6 sharp each morning to the daily shower she took before going to bed at 9:45. Curiously though, during his observations, he was briefly distracted by what appeared to be growing animosity between Mikoto's husband and older child, Itachi Uchiha, who had very nearly spotted him on multiple occasions. It would seem that the unrest the Uchiha clan felt towards the village was reaching a boiling point and Naruto could feel that a great change was coming soon, therefore, Naruto decided that the time to approach Mikoto was now and not a day sooner. Naruto picked the perfect opportunity. Fugaku had left for work and Itachi had been assigned a mission to subdue a boar nearby, which Sasuke had sunk along on, leaving Mikoto alone inside her house. Naruto waited for the time he knew Mikoto would have finished doing the dishes from breakfast and would soon head out to buy fresh supplies for dinner. Honestly, it somewhat saddened Naruto seeing what had become of his mother's best friend, who he was told was an equal match for her, being reduced to a simple housewife. However, while she did these things, she had not lost her abilities. Her senses, however, were somewhat dull though, which allowed Naruto to discreetly sneak into the kitchen behind her and silently take a seat at the kitchen table as he waited for her to finish washing and turn around. Mikoto placed the last plate on the dish rack and dried her hands before turning around and nearly having a heart attack. Hello Mikoto. Intoned Naruto smoothly. Naruto. Whispered Mikoto in surprise at seeing the local Jinchuriki in her house. I see, you do know my name, although whether it is because I am the local village pariah or because my mother told you what she was to name her son I am unsure. Commented Naruto thoughtfully. Mikoto quickly picked apart what Naruto had just said and realized he seemed to know at the very least a little about her. Don't be alarmed Mikoto, I am not here to hurt you or anything, if anything, you have my thanks for being Kushina's friend despite your knowledge that she possessed the Kyuubi inside her. Said Naruto in a soothing voice. Mikoto stiffened at this and looked at Naruto suspiciously. How do you know all of this? Questioned Mikoto curiously. Would you believe me if I said I met my mother's soul and learned from her about her life? Although I suppose, me saying you know as she would have, might persuade you further. Said Naruto casually, as if he was talking about the weather. Very well then, let's say I believe you, why are you here Naruto? Questioned Mikoto as she sat down at the table, sitting opposite of Naruto. Naruto met Mikoto's gaze and held it for a while, looking deep into her very being. Mikoto didn't flinch and returned the gaze resolutely, but with some kindness to them. Are you really going to throw your life away in a failed coup attempt? Asked Naruto bluntly. Mikoto would have been surprised, but Naruto's words prior had somewhat dulled her reaction from outright shock to a single raised eyebrow. If need be, yes, although why do you say it is a failure already? Forgive me, but you are a child and I doubt you can see the future. Replied Mikoto softly. True, I am a child. Although, not a normal one by anyone's description. The good anything about being a child, even one as special as me, is that it is easy to sneak around. I have to say though, your son definitely came close to catching me multiple times, although I suppose that is why he will be the one that will be used to quell your rebellion. Said Naruto causally. Why should I believe any of this? Asked Mikoto after a pause. For the simple reason that I gain nothing by lying to you. Replied Naruto quickly as he fixed Mikoto with an intense stare. You are one of the few people who see me for who I truly am well, perhaps that is an exaggeration. You at least see me as human and not a monster or weapon. You see me as a person, the same way you saw my mother as a person. That is why I wish to help you. Explained Naruto kindly. The black-haired beauty fixed the blonde in front of her with a searching look. She looked at his face and saw Kushina's face reflected in the face of her son. She looked into his eyes and saw the unwavering determination of Minato. Most of all though, she noticed his expression which betrayed the intellect that belied his childish frame. Naruto Uzumaki was truly not a normal person at all. How exactly can you help the Uchiha clan? At this stage there is already no turning back. Queried Mikoto curiously. True, however, I never said I was going to help the Uchiha clan, no, I would help just you, Mikoto Uchiha. Replied Naruto carefully. I won't abandon my clan. I knew the risks going in and have no intention of leaving my clan to rot. Declared Mikoto firmly. I expected no less of you. If the Uzumaki clan was still around today, I would fight with all the breath in my body to keep it thriving, alas, it is already gone, well for the most part. However, I will let you do everything you would have done as normal, I just want to inject you with something. It will have no effect on you at all, and if your coup is successful, it will most likely never even carry out its purpose. Requested Naruto as he removed a vial and syringe. Naruto extracted some of the fluid from the vial into the syringe and passed the vial to Mikoto. I know that you are quite handy with poisons and your ability to see through illusions is that which surpasses most of your clans, even without your Sharingan. See for yourself, the substance is not harmful at all. Offered Naruto easily. Mikoto took the vial and examined it. It was a simple green fluid with the consistency of water. It glowed somewhat in a manner similar to the mystical palm technique, but only very faintly. As Mikoto rolled the vial in her hands, the fluid sloshed around slowly, clinging somewhat to the vial. And just why should I let you inject me with this anyway? True it isn't poison, but I can't identify it, whatever it is. Asked Mikoto as she placed the vial on the table, after which Naruto pocketed it once again. I should hope not, as that would mean someone has stolen my research notes. Commented Naruto cheerfully. So you mean to tell me you created this? Asked Mikoto, a hint of surprise in her tone. Ah, perhaps you doubt me I suppose you have heard of the Kurama clan heiress no? Questioned Naruto to which Mikoto nodded. Well, would you believe that I was the one who helped her achieve her miraculous recovery? Asked Naruto. So am I to believe that you are some sort of medical prodigy? Questioned Mikoto skeptically. Prodigy honestly, I detest that word. No, I am no prodigy, my growth is no faster than that of anyone else's, I just look where others don't dare to tread. To push the boundaries of the human body is quite easy being a Jinchuriki, it is at least one thing I am thankful about. Explained the blonde cheekily. Why should I trust you? Tell me one good reason as to why I should allow a child to inject a foreign substance into me? Asked Mikoto curiously. The truth, you shouldn't. I make no promises about what I am to do now. In fact, you won't remember any of this unless your coup fails because I have already injected you with this compound, I just wanted to let you know," said Naruto as he stood up. Mikoto's eyes widened before she felt herself relax suddenly. Bringing her hands up to dispel the genjutsu, she realized there was none. "Have no fear, I saw to it that you would faint at this time and your memories of this conversation would be blocked. If your coup does fail and we do meet again and you regain your memories, a helpful tip, do check your shampoo before using it, there is no telling what someone might have put in it. Nighty-night, Mikoto," said Naruto in amusement as he walked out of the Uchiha house as the woman inside slumped on the table. Line break. Naruto was nothing but patient, why wouldn't he be, he wasn't even 10 yet and thus had no trouble waiting until the Uchiha either acted or forced the village to act. To pass the time, Naruto spent most of his time in his lab carrying out experiments. His knowledge of the human body and various compounds available to him provided him endless endeavors to pursue. Naruto frequently scoffed at the so-called medical experts in the village right now, they were fools. They stuck only to chakra-based healing techniques and their meager poison expert team, and he used the term expert lightly, was a complete crock. The things Naruto had created and found counters to would have left the entire medical corps of the village baffled and ashamed at how a child had utterly lapped them in all their endeavors. That aside, Naruto did enjoy the large amount of substances he was able to steal from them and put to better use under him than under the incompetent monkeys of the Leaf Village. Poisons and elixirs aside, Naruto was also testing out new ways to utilize elemental jutsu with medical jutsu, and it was proceeding quite well. Lightning was the easiest to work with, seeing as how all parts of the body worked via electrical impulses, but water proved to be very workable as well. Earth, fire and wind were still in their infancy, but proved to be promising with earth showing the potential to strengthen bone density and fire being particularly good at combating infection. Wind however was currently at a standstill and Naruto was currently struggling to find a way it could be implemented. As Naruto was working in his lab, just about to add a small drop of purple fluid from a pipette to a beaker containing yellow fluid, a brief alert signal glowed yellow on the wall opposite him. Carefully setting his tools down, Naruto incinerated the latex gloves around his hands before heading over to his cloak and scythe, which he strapped along his back and headed out into the village. As he stepped into the village, he could feel it in the air, chakra. There was fighting going on. Quickly but silently, Naruto took to the rooftops, heading towards the source of the chakra. Naruto already knew where he was going and didn't hesitate as he passed through the entrance of the Uchiha compound, heading back to the same home he had visited only weeks prior. Disinterestedly, he noticed Sasuke Uchiha pitifully running away in fear, only to find his brother standing in front of him. Briefly pausing to see if Itachi would kill his little brother, he was slightly surprised seeing that Sasuke had activated his Sharingan in a pitiful attempt to fight against the prodigy of the Uchiha clan. Naruto's interest was further piqued when he saw Itachi shed a tear and moved closer to the brothers. "I'm so sorry Sasuke," whispered Itachi just loud enough for Naruto to hear before his mangekyou was directed straight at Naruto. Naruto jumped down from the building he was on and calmly walked to the butcher of the Uchiha clan. "Naruto, so you are the one I have been trying in vain to spot for the past few months," said Itachi calmly, despite the blood speckling his clothes. "Yeah. I have to admit, you are really quite perceptive for someone who isn't a censor, even with those eyes of yours," confirmed Naruto as he walked closer until he was just outside of arm's reach from the Uchiha. "You may just be a better ninja than me Naruto," stated Itachi after a brief pause. "Me? You flatter me. I am merely good at exploiting the fact that no one cares for me and thus I can do much in secret," replied Naruto jovially. "Naruto, can you do me a favor? Please look after Sasuke for me," requested Itachi. I'm not particularly inclined to, especially since if I hadn't come here a while ago, Mikoto Uchiha, one of the few people who saw both my mother and I as human, would be dead," said Naruto shocking Itachi. "And mother is still alive," uttered Itachi shocked before fixing Naruto with a stern glare. "Oh, that look is scary, is that really how you should look at someone you are asking a favor of?" questioned Naruto with a gleam in his eyes. Itachi smiled at Naruto. Of all things Naruto was expecting, a smile was not one of them. "Yes, you are a far better ninja than I see that I will need to provide you something to look after Sasuke, then will me reporting to you on a certain masked Sharingan user be sufficient?" questioned Itachi knowingly. "Oh, I see you are quite a crafty ninja yourself Itachi," said Naruto as malice rolled off him in waves upon hearing about a masked Sharingan user. "Do we have a deal?" questioned Itachi, already knowing the answer. "You are a shrewd businessman Itachi. Yes, we have a deal, however, I will not baby Sasuke his whole life, I will see to it that I help him in my own way, and once he becomes a genin, I will do nothing, although I know what you really want, and Danzo's head will be mine," said Naruto, shocking Itachi. "How do you know all of this?" asked Itachi now very curious. Well, my mother told me on the outskirts of the village on the northern side behind the Hokage monument there is a building, it will be destroyed, but there will be a tree behind it with a spiral carved into it. When you find it, swipe some blood on the spiral and you will receive the gift from me to you for all the birthdays I've missed and all the ones to go. And believe me, the gifts she left for me were extensive, including, but not limited to, her diary, which contained information on the functional and political main powers behind this village's operations, thanks to her paranoia in joining a village in which she knew no one, and let's just say, those who took an eye will find their heads taken in retribution. Explained Naruto, with a small smile on his face. Very well. Before I go, one day I may be sent to hunt you down, I am joining a group called Akatsuki. Warned Itachi. Yes, I know, whose goal it is to hunt down the Jinchuriki. Well, we have an agreement of information. I would also request that you provide me information on the whereabouts of the Jinchuriki and when your organization will move on each of them. If you do so, I would be willing to protect Sasuke at least until after the first Chunin exam he attends. If he fails to become a Chunin, however, I will still be free from protecting him. Agreed. Offered Naruto. That would be agreeable. I must leave now, I can feel Rude Anbu coming here now, please, protect Sasuke and my mother. Said Itachi before disappearing. Yeah, I had best move before that relic gets his clutches on Mikoto. Muttered Naruto before running off towards the house of the last remaining Uchiha in the Leaf Village. As Naruto arrived at the front door, he followed the scent of blood and found Fugaku and Mikoto Uchiha both dead, or so it appeared. TSK Mikoto, I would say I expected better, but then again, I did see this coming, hence the vial. Said Naruto to the slumped form of the Uchiha matriarch. Naruto placed his arms under Mikoto's body and lifted her over his shoulders. Well, off we go. Said Naruto in amusement before disappearing and leaving the Uchiha compound altogether, arriving at his lab. Ah, the wonders of medicine, to be able to push the boundaries of the body flicker to such an extent. Muttered Naruto before carrying the Uchiha still on his shoulders to a tube filled with the same liquid he had in the vial he had showed her. Naruto pushed Mikoto's body against the tube of glass and she slowly started to sink into it until she was fully inside and immersed in the tube. And the wonders of Fuinjutsu, truly remarkable. Concluded Naruto. Naruto walked over to his bench and grabbed a sealing tag that he had specifically placed in the center of it for this moment. Grasping a vial containing the same fluid Mikoto was currently immersed in from a shelf under the bench, Naruto uncorked it and poured it on the seal as the fluid clung to the tag and slowly spread out. Naruto waited until it had reached the corners of the tag and covered it completely before going through the boar, snake and rat hand signs, before pausing on the dragon seal for a full 15 seconds before slamming his palms together. Chapter 6. Do you see what I see? Mikoto Uchiha was terribly confused right now. It had all started earlier today. She had woken up as usual, preparing breakfast for her family. After that, she had headed to the market within the Uchiha clan district to pick up supplies for dinner. As she prepared dinner, she had a small chat with her youngest son, Sasuke Uchiha, who was quite sad about his failure in mastering the signature jutsu of the Uchiha clan, the fireball jutsu. Sighing inwardly at how cold Fugaku could be on the surface, she successfully reassured Sasuke that his father was in fact proud of him, at least for the moment. Afterwards, she had finished dinner and set it at the table before her husband, Fugaku Uchiha, arrived. It seemed that today would be the day the coup d'etat would go ahead. Before anything could get underway though, various Uchiha had started vanishing. Mikoto sighed, knowing exactly who was responsible for this and knew her time was coming. As Fugaku and Mikoto knelt submissively, Itachi Uchiha, their own flesh and blood, with trembling hands and tears in his eyes, had pierced their hearts and ended their lives. So why was Mikoto currently existing in some capacity? Existing, she thought, because she didn't truly feel alive. Hello Mikoto. Said a voice, causing her to turn. How did she just turn? Mikoto had no idea, she only focused on the voice. I can understand you must be quite confused currently, but I'm afraid I have some urgent business I must attend to before your body starts to deteriorate. Well, that happens though, your memories should be coming back to you. Said the voice. Memories? Mikoto thought in confusion before remembering a conversation she had not too long ago with the village's Jinchuriki. Naruto? Thought Mikoto. Mikoto remained quizzical for a minute, or was it an hour? Mikoto couldn't tell. There we go. Now, allow me to help you out here Mikoto. You cannot speak currently but you can hear. You can see, but only chakra. I'm afraid the jutsu I created isn't perfect and you have lost some of your senses, such as touch, taste and smell, however, you can still hear perfectly well, see, very roughly and can interact with matter, although I wouldn't recommend it as it may destabilize your soul. Said the voice, Mikoto had now placed as belonging to Naruto. Mikoto focused on the voice once again and was able to pick up a faint blue hue in front of her. Now, I can understand your confusion. How are you alive when your son killed you? Truthfully, you are not alive. Your organic body has just decayed rapidly and become nothing but dust. Luckily I was able to harvest the important things from your body before it perished. Your organs for instance and most importantly in the future, your eyes. After all, we can't have an Uchiha without a Sharingan now can we? Said the massive blue in front of her rhetorically before it seemed to turn. Of course, it will take some time for your sight in this form to develop, so please be patient and wait a few days. Now, if you'll excuse me, there is one other person I must get to before Danzo, it will be the only way for me to hold any sway over Itachi after this day after all. Said the massive blue before it suddenly flared and disappeared. Mikoto waited for a few minutes, or was it a few hours? Mikoto still couldn't tell after all. She tried to reach out her senses, only to find that she didn't even know if her senses existed. She could see, hear and smell nothing at all. She couldn't feel anything and couldn't tell if she was standing or sitting. Suddenly, a mass of blue appeared in front of her once again. She could see. The smaller mass of blue was currently held with the arms of the larger mass of blue. Well, this is quite troubling. Seems Itachi did quite a number on this girl. Really, if I hadn't gotten to her in time she'd be permanently brain dead and it is going to exhaust all the resources I have currently to revive her. I suppose what I can get in return will be worth it in the future. Spoke the larger mass of blue. Naruto. Thought Mikoto. She could hear again. Ah, sorry about that Mikoto, I was talking to myself. Now then, as for what your fate will be, I just need you to be patient. Just give it a few days. Then you'll be able to control your thoughts and well, spiritual essence, since it isn't really a body. Said Naruto sheepishly. Line break. Naruto studied the ball of energy in front of him. As far as he knew, Mikoto had heard every word he had said, but with that being said, he had never tried this technique before on a human. His calculations were impeccable and should be correct, but he wouldn't know for certain for a few more days. Glancing at the body held within his arms, Naruto quickly took her over to a bed. He noticed with some interest that Mikoto had followed him, whether consciously or instinctively, Naruto didn't know. The body in front of Naruto was completely untouched. If not for the massive damage the mind of this particular body had taken, Naruto would have thought them to be asleep. Just who are you that Itachi could kill his entire clan, including his parents, borderline torture his brother, and accept being hunted for his whole life, yet still be unable to physically harm you? Muttered Naruto thoughtfully. Idakai spoke the woman. Naruto blinked, having not seen the woman's lips move. Channeling chakra to his fingertips and transforming it into that of a lightning nature, Naruto pressed his fingers against the temples of the person in front of him. A quick discharge of energy and Naruto felt the body breathe. Naruto looked at the body in shock. This defied all known knowledge Naruto had of the mind. When Naruto had found the body, the person was completely brain dead. No breathing. No pulse. No reflexes remained and the person was unmoving and unresponsive. Yet, despite this, the simple mention of the Itachi's name had roused her from the world of the dead. Line break. Itachi had finally done it. His mission to protect his brother had been commenced. Following Tobi to meet with the leader of Akatsuki, Itachi's face was a cool mask of impassive calm. Someone who saw him now would have no idea he had just come from killing every single member of his clan, including his mother and father, barring only his little brother. His mother though, was apparently still alive, according to the village's Jinchuriki, Naruto Uzumaki. What to make of this, Itachi didn't know, he only hoped that the blonde would honor their agreement, as he would. Cutting a line though his headband, as the leader of the Akatsuki, Pain, had instructed, Itachi stared at this headband for a moment before donning it once again. Welcome to the Akatsuki, Itachi Uchiha. Said Pain, a man with orange hair, purple eyes, with 3 concentric rings in them, and numerous piercings all over his body. We will gather the others now, to introduce you to the rest and your new partner. Said Pain, before leaving with his blue-haired attendant, Conan. Tobi looked at Itachi for a moment before disappearing into his mask with a swirl, leaving Itachi behind and all alone. Alone. Itachi Uchiha was completely alone now. Among the den of wolves, he had no friends or family. As the events of the day came back to Itachi, he slumped down to his knees, exhausted. Just a few days ago, he had told Sasuke he couldn't train with him because he had been exhausted with his most recent mission. Sasuke had refuted that, saying Itachi was never exhausted, but now, the newly dubbed clan slayer felt truly exhausted. The amount of blood that had bathed his face today could never be truly washed away. The blood of his kinsmen, that of the Uchiha. That of his mother and father. In fact, aside from that of his brother, there had only been one other Uchiha whose blood had not been spilled today. Itachi clutched his eyes, feeling the strain from the absurd amount of chakra he had focused into them to end the life of that one person. Thank you. Itachi remembered the last words she said to him as he brought her life to an end. She had thanked him, even as he ended her life. Itachi felt moisture gather towards the edge of his eyes once again. As he raised his hand to wipe away his tears, Itachi noticed something. His right hand was trembling. The hands of the man, which had been stained with the blood of countless people in a single night, were trembling. Itachi's stoic mask gave way to a slight frown, his lips ever so slightly turning downwards. To protect Sasuke, I made this choice, so why do I feel this regret now? I hardened my heart at the time. I was sure I had done what needed to be done to ensure Sasuke's future, so why am I crying? Why are my hands trembling? Why do I wish things could have gone differently? Thought Itachi. Itachi sat there, his shoulders hunched and his back bent. Why does my heart hurt this much, even though I know Sasuke will now be safe? Questioned Itachi. As Itachi contemplated what he had done, he sat there in silence. The clan slayer of the Uchiha wept, not tears of salt and water, but rather, tears of blood, reflecting the damage his soul had taken today. Idakai. Itachi flinched, raising his head quickly, Mangekyo activated. Even as the last evidence of his bloody tears disappeared, Itachi's eyes were frantically scanning the area around him. He had heard something. He was sure of it. No, I must still be racked with grief. She died by my own hands. I saw the life leave her eyes. Thought Itachi, hardening his gaze once more. There is no happy ending for me. As of today, my fate was sealed. I will die a disgraced traitor so that Sasuke can live, there is no other path I can take. Thought Itachi. Line break. Naruto observed the body for a few minutes, from a short distance, waiting to see if the person would awaken. After 10 minutes, with no change in breathing or pulse, Naruto walked back to the body. The milky green glow surrounded Naruto's two hands, and he slowly waved it over the body, starting from the feet up. Vitals all normal. Nerves responsive as are muscles. Brain capacity is at 60%, slightly elevated. Pupils not responsive to light. Said Naruto to himself, even as Mikoto floated beside him. Letting the chakra from his hands dissipate, Naruto gently raised the eyelids of the person he was examining, only for his eyes to widen slightly. Wow, Itachi really did a number on you. You're blind. The irony of an Uchiha going blind, however, for you to be useful, you will need visual prowess. Muttered Naruto, before letting the eyelids he had been holding open shut. As the green glow surrounded his hands again, Naruto placed his right hand over the Uchiha's eyes, while placing his left over her forehead. Well, at least that explains why you're not waking up, your retinohypothalamic tract has been destroyed, and your occipital lobe has been damaged severely. Really, just what did Itachi do to you to cause this much damage? This is far too delicate for me to rush, I need time to go over things. Said Naruto, preparing to take his hands off the girl, only to pause as he noticed something strange. This cluster of neurons Mikoto headed to, I wonder if this is what enables the Sharingan to awaken. I think I need to test this theory out first before I take things a step further. Well, it has been a while since I went out at night, let's see how the village is doing. Said Naruto, letting the chakra around his hands finally dissipate. Mikoto, you stay here and watch over her. Who knows, you may even come to recognize her chakra signature and it may speed up your tentative awareness. Said Naruto to Mikoto, before leaving the two Uchiha behind. Line break. Stepping out into the dimly lit village, Naruto smiled slightly as he expanded his senses. Too slow, Danzo. I already got the real prize. Thought Naruto, before heading towards the market district. The village had not changed much in his absence. Stalls littered the street at every turn and people were out and about, even at this time. The smell of good food and liquor pervaded Naruto's senses, the latter causing him to wrinkle his sensitive nose slightly in distaste. Honestly, getting intoxicated every night is completely stupid. They're just pushing their livers closer to failure and eventual death. I suppose the idiots of this village feel safe in their superiority to be able to act like this. If someone were to invade now, only the Anbu would be able to put up a decent fight. Thought Naruto distastefully. As Naruto stepped into the market district, he could feel the glares being sent his way, along with the cold shoulders he got from the others. Making his way through the crowds, which easily parted for him, he headed towards the restaurants, more known for their rowdy clientele. After all, why should I look for a villager when with enough alcohol in their systems, they'll come for me? Thought Naruto cheerfully. Stopping outside the establishment in question, Naruto waited for a few minutes, aimlessly milling around, waiting for some fool brave enough to confront him. It took much longer than Naruto expected. Perhaps the villagers were finally starting to use their brains, but eventually, Naruto felt a burst of killing intent sent his way. Smiling obliviously, Naruto walked into an alley behind the establishment, waiting for his soon-to-be victim. Making sure the Anbu presence was off him momentarily, Naruto quickly jumped up to the side of one of the buildings making up the alley, waiting for the civilian to enter the lion's den. He was balding and slightly overweight. He wore expensive clothes and gold jewelry. Naruto didn't care for that though, and quickly pulled out a kitchen knife he had pilfered. Not a kunai, as that would make it obvious a ninja had attacked the man, nor his scythe, which was quite an odd weapon to begin with. No, a simple kitchen knife, to the heart of the man below him. Enough to kill him, but not enough to kill him instantly. Naruto wanted a bit of fun first. Dropping down in front of the man, Naruto quickly struck, causing the man to let out a strangled cry of pain before Naruto pulled the knife out. The man dropped to his knees, pressing his hands over his wound. "Looks like I messed up that expensive fabric, sorry. Not like you'll be needing it anymore anyway," said Naruto with a sad expression, which was obviously fake. "You cough demon," spluttered the man. "That's right, but I'm not the Kyuubi," said Naruto, causing the man's eyes to widen. "Oh, you didn't know that I figured things out, did you? Well, if you idiots hadn't been so antagonistic to me, you might have seen the truth. For instance, did you know that I'm the son of your precious fourth Hokage?" questioned Naruto. "Lies, the fourth was a great man, he wouldn't have fathered a demon spawn," growled the slowly dying man. "But he did. Well, it's about time you die now, since I've grown bored of seeing your fat face," said Naruto cheerfully before slitting the man's throat. "Now, to make sure this doesn't look too suspicious," muttered Naruto before tearing the gold necklace off the fat man's neck and taking some of his remaining jewelry before tearing the man's clothing more. "There, that should be enough fake evidence, now in you go," said Naruto before sealing the man's body away. Naruto quickly checked his surroundings, making sure no trace of him was left at the scene. Just to be sure though, thought Naruto before pulling a match out of his pocket and lighting it before throwing it towards a carton of sake. Leaping away, Naruto quickly dashed back to the nearest manhole he could find, only to hear the sound of an explosion. "There we go, now no one will know Mr. Fat Man didn't perish in the flames. Sake really does have too much alcohol concentrated into it, but it makes for an excellent accelerant," thought Naruto before dropping underneath the village once again. Line break. Mikoto was beginning to regain some sense of awareness. She could hear the shallow breaths of the person in front of her, but couldn't make out much else. What sounded like a door opening caused her to turn, and she noticed the mass of blue that she identified as Naruto. "I'm back, hope you didn't get bored, Mikoto," said Naruto with a hint of amusement in his tone. Mikoto watched as a burst of blue energy broke off from Naruto and caused a mass to appear. She thought of it as a mass, as she still couldn't make out what it was, only a hint of chakra in the center remained. An animal perhaps. "Now, let's see here," said Naruto, placing his two hands over the creature he had summoned. Mikoto watched on as Naruto seemed to hum to himself and inject bursts of chakra into the creature in front of him. "So, civilians don't have the same tract going to their eyes as the Uchiha, is that from a lack of chakra utilization, or are the Uchiha unique in having an extra set of nerves going to their eyes?" pondered Naruto before examining himself. "What does it mean that I have the same tract though? I know I'm not an Uchiha, mother was a full-blooded Uzumaki, I know that much," muttered Naruto. "Kushina," thought Mikoto, thinking on what Naruto had just said. "Well, I don't know, nor do I care too much about Minato's lineage, but perhaps I should look into it. It seems there is something there, if my hunch is right," muttered Naruto before a green glow encased his hands and he raised it to his eyes. Naruto focused for a minute, tracing the nerves from his eyes to the regions in his brain they stimulated. Why on earth would there be a nerve tract from the eyes to the multitude of neural tissue which make up the limbic system? Muttered Naruto in confusion before a jolt went through his body. Mikoto heard a sound that sounded like coughing. Did Naruto get something stuck in his throat? The sound had started to intensify in volume. Mikoto was able to pick up that it wasn't a cough, but rather, chuckling. That chuckling soon turned to quiet laughter. A few seconds later, Naruto was laughing uproariously. Mikoto had no idea what was happening and focused on the mass of blue in front of her. Naruto's chakra seemed to be moving rapidly, spreading to his head from the looks of things. Mikoto had no idea what was going. As Mikoto continued to study the mass of blue in front of her, she couldn't understand why Naruto was laughing. If only she had her vision though, she would see Naruto looking up to the roof, a pair of red eyes, with a single comma-like marking in them, rotating slowly as Naruto cackled in elation. Chapter 7 Clarity. "Minato, you lovely bastard. This may be the only time I'm happy that you are my father. To think, you had Uchiha blood within you. Uzumaki and Uchiha, one of the greatest combinations imaginable. I suppose I really should investigate Minato's lineage more, who knows what else I could find," said Naruto before turning to face the ball of energy that was Mikoto. "Well Mikoto, how have you been adapting?" asked Naruto. The ball of energy moved around slightly, causing Naruto to hum slightly. "Well, I didn't understand any of that, but it seems you are anxious about the aftermath of your clan's extinction, particularly your son's. Well, I can't let you go off and see Itachi as you are now, so I suppose we could go see what was his name again, right, Sasuke?" said Naruto. Mikoto seemed to vibrate at this, leading Naruto to assume she was in agreement of his plan. "Well then, let's get going," said Naruto before making his way out of his lab, Mikoto following. Line break. Naruto squinted as he pushed the lid off the sewer grate and noticed the sun starting to rise. "I must have lost track of time doing my research again, no matter, this will make it easier for Mikoto to remain hidden," thought Naruto, before exiting into the village, the luminescent soul of Mikoto following, before Naruto slipped the manhole shut. "Well, Mikoto, lead the way. This will be a good test for your directional awareness," said Naruto. Unbeknownst to Naruto, Mikoto understood his words and started to make her way towards the Uchiha clan compound. It took only a few minutes, confusing Mikoto, before she realized it was because she didn't stop to greet anyone, not that she could, but that wasn't important currently. A line of tape had sectioned off the compound, the words "keep out" sprawled all over the compound of the Uchiha. Naruto easily followed Mikoto into the compound, which was as quiet as the grave. All things considered, with what happened yesterday, it might as well have been one. Naruto started to hum to himself, while Mikoto continued to lead him to her home. Naruto spotted the home of the Uchiha matriarch and quickly moved to stand in front of her, causing her to halt. "Now Mikoto, we need to be a bit more careful about this than you and your husband were with your coup. For one thing, Sasuke is like to be quite shaken up and may be acting irrationally, and with you still being unable to communicate as you would have before, we need to be unseen, at least initially. Follow me, I know the best vantage point for spying on your home, it is how I observed you after all," said Naruto, before leading Mikoto around her house and over to another, on the other side of the road. Naruto climbed up the wall with a series of jumps, latching onto the top of it with his left hand and pulling himself across with his right until he reached a small edge, which he perched on. If he squatted down, he would be invisible completely, but not only that, he was angled perfectly to see into the kitchen of Mikoto and her family. Mikoto hovered beside Naruto, waiting for a sign of some sort. "Mother, where are you?" cried Sasuke, waking up and rubbing his eyes blearily as he walked into the kitchen. Sasuke looked around and blinked when no one came to greet him, before sighing. "So it wasn't a dream, why big brother, why did you do it?" mumbled Sasuke so quietly that Naruto and Mikoto almost didn't hear him. "Well, I might as well get some breakfast first. Now, where did mother put the tomatoes?" said Sasuke before moving around the kitchen. Naruto and Mikoto both watched for about 15 minutes, in which Sasuke rummaged through the kitchen, trying to find the tomatoes, to no avail. "Why has this happened to me? Where are those things?" lamented Sasuke, growing increasingly frustrated at his inability to find his breakfast. "You'd think your son would be more concerned with his life than his breakfast," mumbled Naruto in disbelief. Mikoto hovered in place for a moment before moving towards Sasuke. "Wait, Mikoto, stop. He can't see you right now, he might react irrationally and could possibly get unsavory eyes to take notice of you. Just tell me where the tomatoes are and I'll get them," sighed Naruto. Mikoto seemed to nod at this and led Naruto to the edge of their house before leading him towards the kitchen, only to turn to the side and lead Naruto to a small pantry. Naruto quickly located the tomatoes and grabbed a box before walking out of the pantry. "Mikoto, please stay out of sight now," said Naruto. "Who's there?" asked Sasuke from the kitchen, having heard Naruto exit the pantry. Mikoto floated away, heading back to Naruto's spying spot, only to watch as Naruto entered the kitchen, holding a box of tomatoes in his hand. "Yo. These are pretty good tomatoes, aren't they?" said Naruto, picking a tomato from the box and taking a bite from it. "Ugh, disgusting," thought Naruto, before throwing the box to Sasuke, who caught it with a small fumble. "Actually, I shouldn't intrude, this is your house after all," said Naruto, throwing his half-eaten tomato to Sasuke, who fumbled to catch it as well. "What the hell? You can't just come into someone's house and eat their food like it is nothing. Who do you think you are?" ranted Sasuke. "It's just one tomato, who cares?" retorted Naruto. "It isn't just one tomato, it is my tomato," protested Sasuke, setting the tomatoes down. "Hey, you couldn't even find them. I did you a favor here," quipped Naruto. "I could have found them easily, I'm an Uchiha, our eyes are superior than all," said Sasuke. "Oh yeah? Then where are all the Uchiha now? I don't see any superior eyes around," teased Naruto. "Shut up," roared Sasuke, throwing Naruto's half-eaten tomato at him. The blonde quickly dodged, turning to see the tomato slam into the wall behind him. "Now you are just wasting food. Don't throw a tantrum just because you couldn't find your own tomatoes," yelled Naruto. "You think this is about tomatoes? My whole clan was murdered. I'm all alone now, and now to top it all off, someone is breaking into my house and eating my food," screamed Sasuke. "Yeah, well it tasted terrible anyway. Haven't you heard about not crying over thrown tomatoes?" retorted Naruto with a huff. "It's spilled milk, not thrown tomatoes," corrected Sasuke in annoyance. "Whatever. I don't care about stupid tomatoes anyway. I came here to see, actually what did I come here for again, oh yeah, I came here to see the last Uchiha crybaby. You think you have it bad because your clan was wiped out? Big deal. My clan was wiped out ages ago and you don't see me crying over it or throwing tomatoes," said Naruto. "You don't have a clan, you're an orphan," retorted Sasuke. "So that means you don't have a clan anymore either, since now you're an orphan too," said Naruto, angering Sasuke. "Eat this." shouted Sasuke before grabbing a tomato and throwing it at Naruto, who dodged once again. You're just wasting food now. The first one I bit, so I could understand that, but don't waste food when people are out there starving. Roared Naruto in indignation. Oh yeah, make me. Yelled Sasuke, preparing to throw another tomato, only for Naruto to tackle him to the ground. Sasuke kicked Naruto off him and got into his fighting stance, preparing to counter Naruto's next strike. You think you're so special? Well, you're not. Said Naruto, before charging Sasuke. Sasuke raised his arm to block the left cross he was expecting, only for Naruto to kick out with his right leg, slamming Sasuke out of the kitchen and into the small garden around his home. Sasuke grunted and picked up a rock nearby, throwing it at Naruto. Naruto ducked quickly, only for a shadow to block out the sun above him. Looking up, Naruto saw Sasuke descending down on him with an axe kick. Naruto rolled away from the attack and quickly pushed off the ground, a right uppercut slamming into Sasuke's jaw before he could react, followed by a right side kick into his gut, which knocked the air out of him and sent him crashing into the small pond nearby. There, now you are all washed up like your clan. Laughed Naruto. Do you think this is a game? Roared Sasuke as he climbed out of the pond. You're the one who's acting like a little brat. Big deal, you couldn't find your tomatoes and your clan got wiped out. You're still alive though. Why are you wasting your time instead of getting stronger? Said Naruto. It just happened yesterday. Yelled Sasuke. And the first thing you do is throw a tantrum over tomatoes. Yelled back Naruto. Who the hell do you even think you are? Asked Sasuke. The guy who will kick your ass if you keep acting like this. I'll be back later. Try to grow up a little by then. Said Naruto, before turning his back on Sasuke and walking off. Mikoto watched this all in confusion, not understanding why Naruto was riling Sasuke up so much. Did you enjoy the show, Mikoto? Hopefully he won't keep moping about now. Let's go back to the lab now. Actually, you can stay and watch Sasuke for a bit and I'll come back to get you after I get some ramen. All that yelling made me hungry. Said Naruto, before leaving Mikoto to watch over her son. Line break. Hiruzen, I'm telling you that something is not right here. You've left the Jinchuriki on his own too much and he has barely been seen recently. For all we know, a spy has already captured him and wrested the Kyuubi from our grasp. Said Danzo, a withered old man covered in bandages. Danzo, you are being overly paranoid. True, Naruto has been less active around the village, but he has not been absent. For that matter, considering how he is treated, can you truly blame him for seeking solitude? Retorted Hiruzen Sarutobi, another old man, wearing a white robe. To the uninformed, this was simply two old men having a disagreement. For those that knew of the power and positions they held, this meeting was of immense importance. At that moment, Hiruzen's glow glowed slightly, causing him to channel chakra into it and cause an image to appear. See, he is getting ramen in the village as we speak. Danzo, Naruto is not a prisoner, he is allowed to move around as he wants, he hasn't even started shinobi training yet. Said Hiruzen. One of your greatest mistakes to date. As soon as he could walk, he should have been given training to become the greatest ninja in this village and harness the power within him. You are too soft, Sarutobi. Said Danzo, with a hint of disdain seeping into his tone. Yet we are currently enjoying peace as a result of my actions. Danzo, there is a time and place for militaristic ideas, and that is during war. During peacetime, there needs to be more understanding. Let kids be kids for a change. Said Hiruzen. That is what you don't understand, this is not peace, this is the prelude to war. Cloud is always training up their forces, to the point that a few years ago, they overtook us in the number of jounin we possess. Said Danzo. Quality is always better than quantity, Danzo. Said Hiruzen. True, but both wins a war. Watch over that one, Hiruzen, otherwise the tree will rot. Said Danzo, before leaving his superior, in only title as far as he was concerned. Line break. Naruto was eating his ramen with gusto, enjoying the treat after such a long time away. How are you today, Lord Hokage? Greeted Tucci, causing Naruto to momentarily pause in his noodle slurping, only to finish his mouthful and turn around. Old man. Exclaimed Naruto, as he turned around to face the leader of the village. Hello Naruto, nice to see you again. I'm well Tucci, but I wouldn't mind a bowl of shrimp ramen. Said the Hokage, as he walked into the stand and seated himself next to Naruto. Of course, no trouble at all. Said Tucci, before disappearing into the back of the small stand. How have you been Naruto? It has been some time since I've seen you. Said the Hokage. Yeah, I've been training in secret. Just you wait, a few more years, and that hat is mine. Said Naruto sagely. Hiruzen laughed at this in amusement. What happened to being able to take that hat from me now? Have you lost faith in your abilities, Naruto? Asked Hiruzen. Of course not. Someone as awesome as me never loses faith in themselves, it's just, well, I was doing some thinking and I don't really have that much in my favor, you know. All of those kids from clans have special training, but I don't really have anything like that. I've been trying to find something I could work on by myself, but well, it's hard. Ripe Naruto, before dipping his head back down and aggressively slurping his noodles. I didn't know you were so frustrated, Naruto. True, children born into clans have their childhood brought to an early end in order to receive training, but there is nothing wrong with enjoying your youth, Naruto. Said Hiruzen. Well yeah, sure, I mean, it is fun playing pranks here and there, but I feel like I'm starting to fall behind. If there is one thing that can be said about Naruto Uzumaki, it is that he will never fall behind. I'm not going to settle for finishing the race if it means I come dead last. I'm going to be the greatest, I just don't really have any way to get there now, but just you wait, old man. Once I figure out a plan, I'm going to be the strongest in the village. Declared Naruto. Sarutobi pondered on Naruto's words and then reflected on what he and Danzo had been discussing earlier. In retrospect, it was somewhat suspicious for things to line up like this. Hiruzen didn't believe in coincidence and it had served him well in the past. Was there a possibility that Danzo had gotten to Naruto? Highly unlikely. Was this a good opportunity to try and kill two birds with one stone? Yes. Naruto, just what kind of training would you be interested in? Hypothetically, of course. Started Hiruzen, missing the small gleam in Naruto's eye. Well I mean, I like gardening and ramen, so I was thinking about if someone messed with my ramen one day, I could make a plant or something to fix it. You know, those things that get rid of bad stuff. Started Naruto. You mean poisons and antidotes? Queried Hiruzen in curiosity when Naruto didn't jump straight for big flashy explosive jutsu as he had come to expect from the blonde boy. Yeah, those things. Then I was thinking about what would happen if someone did manage to mess with my ramen and how to fix myself up. Like if something goes into my ramen that makes me start bleeding or something and how I'd fix that. Continued Naruto before taking a moment to slurp another mouthful of noodles. So would you say you have an interest in medical ninjutsu, Naruto? Inquired Hiruzen, knowing that it would never be a big thing for Naruto, with the Kyuubi healing him from all injuries. Maybe a little. I mean, you told me the Hokage is the strongest, so that means I need to be able to look after people who get hurt, right? I'm more interested in the ramen thing though. Said Naruto thoughtfully, holding his chopsticks under his chin in thought. Well, Naruto, would you like to enter the academy this coming year then? It would give you the opportunity to learn about those things and much more, as well as make some friends with your classmates. Said Hiruzen. Really? That sounds great, but I really want something to do now. I'm getting kind of bored these days, Gramps, there is no one to play with. Said Naruto, scrunching up his face in annoyance. In that case, would you like for me to arrange for a tutor or two for you? Just for the next few months, before the new year of the academy starts. Offered Hiruzen, only to see Naruto beam at him. Really, Gramps? That'd be awesome. Said Naruto, getting an amused laugh from Hiruzen. In that case, I'll make the arrangements for it right after I eat my ramen, of course. Thank you, Tucci. Said Hiruzen as his ramen was brought to him, missing Naruto's subtle grin. Line break. Naruto parted from the Hokage after his meal was finished and made his way back to the Uchiha compound. When he arrived, he quickly made his way back to the former residence of Mikoto Uchiha, the current residence of the last Uchiha in the village that was alive, or at least had a body and somewhat sound mind, Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto looked around the house and found nothing, puzzling him. I wonder if he actually went off to do something productive. Pondered Naruto aloud before wandering through the compound, trying to find either the elusive flicker of Mikoto's soul or the figure of her youngest son. It was a good hour later when Naruto finally tracked down Sasuke and Mikoto. Sasuke was in the woods training his shuriken throwing skills while Mikoto was watching on, just out of his view. Well, at least you're finally doing something productive. Commented Naruto as he walked towards the Uchiha. Why are you following me? Who the hell are you anyway? Asked Sasuke defensively, holding a few shuriken between his fingers. Hey. Is that any way to talk to someone who is on your side and wants to help you? Said Naruto hotly, confusing the boy in front of him. Help? I don't even know who you are, weirdo. Ranted Sasuke. But I know who you are, Sasuke Uchiha, son of Fugaku and Mikoto Uchiha, brother of Itachi Uchiha. Said Naruto, only for Sasuke to fling a shuriken at Naruto, causing him to leap away. Don't say his name. Growled Sasuke. Why? Don't tell me you hate him or something lame like that. Asked Naruto, cleaning his ear in boredom. Of course I do, he killed my clan. Roared Sasuke, throwing another shuriken at Naruto, who rolled away to the left this time. What about the village, huh? Queried Naruto. The village? What does that have to do with anything? Asked Sasuke. Everything. Roared Naruto, causing Sasuke to recoil and take a step back. Itachi didn't kill your clan for fun. Your clan was planning to overthrow the Hokage. The village found out about it and decided to stop the problem before it could develop into anything they couldn't handle. Said Naruto. You're lying. Roared Sasuke, throwing all the shuriken he had left at Naruto. Naruto pulled out 4 ordinary-looking knives and threw them at the shuriken, deflecting them all away from him. They thudded into the ground with a harsh thud, but the 2 boys ignored the sound completely, staring off at each other. What do I gain by lying? Besides, this isn't the first time the Leaf would have done something like this, said Naruto, causing Sasuke to narrow his eyes. What are you talking about? Asked Sasuke, now much calmer. My clan was betrayed by the Leaf as well. They didn't raise a single finger against us, no, they tricked us into thinking we were allies, then sold us out to the Cloud, Mist and Rock villages and let them destroy us instead, said Naruto. And how would you know that? If your clan was destroyed like you say, then no one should have been able to tell you about this, contested Sasuke, causing Naruto to smirk. You're right. However, I found an old shrine outside the village and because of that, I was able to meet a ghost of my clan and they told me their story. I was able to figure it out from there. This village always tries to look like the good guys in the story, but they are actually rotten at their core. Every person who breathes in this village is complicit in the destruction of both our clans. They didn't do anything, sure, but they didn't stop it either. To a victim, the person who stands by and does nothing is just as bad as the attacker. You and I, we are victims of the Leaf and their lies, but it doesn't have to be like that, said Naruto, extending his hand out to Sasuke. Together, we can get our revenge. I don't expect you to trust me and I don't trust you either, but at the very least, we can grow stronger together and then go on our own paths. After all, who else will push your Sharingan to the limits? Said Naruto. I don't have a Sharingan yet, said Sasuke, causing Naruto to tilt his head to the side and adopt a confused expression. What are you talking about? I saw you activate it yesterday when Itachi chased you down, replied Naruto. It was Sasuke's turn to adopt a look of confusion now, as he had no idea what Naruto was talking about. Well, in that case, maybe if I show you mine, I can get yours back, said Naruto. What are you talking about? You're not an Uchiha, said Sasuke, trailing off, as 2 red eyes, with a single marking around the pupil, stared him down. Now, then, Sasuke Uchiha, prepare yourself, or I will kill you right now. You know too much already, so either join me or die, said Naruto, before rushing Sasuke. Sasuke raised his arms in a block, preparing to endure the punch Naruto threw at his midsection, only for Naruto to sweep his legs. Sasuke then took a brutal kick to his ribs, which flung him far away. Rolling along the ground a few times, Sasuke eventually bounced up and rushed Naruto. The left cross and right jab were child's play for Naruto, his immature Sharingan, enabling him to easily predict the trajectories of the 2, admittedly fast, attacks. Naruto elbowed Sasuke in the gut and followed it up with an uppercut, causing Sasuke to leap backwards and go throw a multitude of hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu, said Sasuke, launching a wave of fire at Naruto. The blonde quickly jumped away from the attack, only for Sasuke to suddenly appear in front of him and nail him with a kick to the ribs. Naruto used the kick's momentum to create some distance from Sasuke with a big leap before pulling out 2 knives. Naruto rushed Sasuke before throwing the knife in his right hand at Sasuke. Sasuke leapt to the left, putting him straight in the path of Naruto's other knife, which he had thrown when Sasuke had been distracted. The knife cut his cheek and caused him to flinch. Now you get it, this isn't a game. If you don't put up a fight, you're going to die here, alone, in the woods, with no one even knowing it, said Naruto, before pulling out another knife and charging at Sasuke. Sasuke desperately dodged the knife, avoiding the jabs towards his vitals. A momentary lapse in judgment led to Sasuke getting a small cut on his right forearm, causing him to flinch. Sasuke's flinch led to Naruto bringing the knife straight towards his face. Die! Shouted Naruto. Instead of closing his eyes, as most people would have done in this scenario, Sasuke's eyes remained glued to the knife. He saw it move towards him in almost slow motion. Sasuke ducked as fast as he could before jamming an elbow into Naruto's ribs and causing him to drop the knife before following up with a kick to the gut, which pushed him away. About time you remembered how to activate them, commented Naruto with a small cough as he stood up. Sasuke blinked in confusion before realizing his perception was much sharper. The leaves rustling in the trees were almost impossible to ignore. The 5 birds flying overhead seemed to move in slow motion. However, the boy in front of him provided the greatest shock. Who are you? Stammered Sasuke in shock, seeing the oppressive mass of chakra standing in front of him. I can be your greatest ally or your executioner. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Now, will you join me, avenge your clan and become a force to be reckoned with who strikes fear in the hearts of shinobi everywhere, or do you intend to die here in this forest, alone and forgotten? Said Naruto, extending his hand out toward Sasuke. Sasuke watched a hand near him with heightened perception. There was no deceit there, no flicker of muscle to indicate it was all a setup of some sort. Sasuke stared at the hand, watching as chakra surged off it even now, before slowly reaching forward for it. I'm glad you accepted. It would have been hard to explain to Mikoto and Itachi that I had killed you," said Naruto, giving a sly grin. "I want answers," demanded Sasuke. "And you'll get them, but first, you need to do something for me," said Naruto. "What?" asked Sasuke, narrowing his Sharingan on Naruto. "Relax, nothing dangerous, I just want to see the Uchiha clan records for every birth and death within the clan. I don't have a Sharingan as well by luck after all, and I want to know how I got it," said Naruto. "So you are an Uchiha?" queried Sasuke, narrowing his eyes in suspicion. "Let's go find out," said Naruto. Chapter 8 Clouded Perception. Naruto and Sasuke had made their way back to the clan head's house, in other words, Sasuke's. The dark-haired boy was still somewhat suspicious of the blonde-haired boy's motives and statements, but if he did turn out to in fact be an Uchiha as he claimed, Sasuke had at least one more living family member. He was also suspicious of the boy's claims that his mother was alive, but that was another issue altogether. "So, why do you think you are an Uchiha? You don't look like one," said Sasuke as he made his way to his father's room. "I mean, these eyes aren't contact lenses. I doubt any non-Uchiha has Sharingan that can be turned on and off like a light switch," said Naruto, briefly activating and deactivating his eyes to prove a point. "Why haven't you come here before?" asked Sasuke as he searched around for something, opening drawers and looking under everything. "I mean, I only activated them yesterday. A few hours after you in fact. I didn't know I was an Uchiha before yesterday," said Naruto, avoiding Sasuke's question. "What makes you think you are an Uchiha then?" asked Sasuke again. "Because I don't know my lineage completely and I might have Uchiha blood in there. It would make the most sense, given that I have the Sharingan, or do I need to flash them again?" said Naruto, sounding slightly exasperated. "Pound it," said Sasuke, pulling out a long yet thin scroll. "What's that?" asked Naruto. "Uchiha family tree. I knew it was here somewhere, just needed to find it," said Sasuke before taking it back to the kitchen, Naruto silently following behind. Sasuke placed the scroll on the table and opened it up. Naruto and Sasuke both looked over the scroll carefully, looking for anything odd. "Wait, why aren't we doing this with Sharingan?" asked Naruto after a moment. "What would be the point?" asked Sasuke. "Haven't you ever heard the expression, use it or lose it? Besides, it would be good practice and this way we won't miss anything," said Naruto, causing Sasuke to nod at his logic before both activated their Sharingan. Looking over the scroll again, they both memorized the names as they worked their way down before both spotted something odd. "Why does that section look out of place? Like something was written there but got removed," commented Naruto, indicating to a small faded section a few generations up. "The Gami Uchiha looks like he is Shisui's grandfather. He was one of Itachi's friends and killed himself only a few weeks ago, although the clan believed Itachi killed him," explained Sasuke. "Why would they remove someone from a couple generations ago? Isn't the whole point of a family tree to have everyone on it?" questioned Naruto. "You're not on it," pointed out Sasuke. "Yet. Not on it yet because I need to be sure where I am supposed to go," corrected Naruto. "What is the one thing that could make the Uchiha clan remove the name of a potential link to another clan?" questioned Naruto after a while. "Why would I know?" asked Sasuke. "Oh, I was talking to myself." The answer, the Senju clan. Uchiha and Senju hate each other, so it would be the only reason I can think of for the Uchiha to alter their own family history. Guess that means I have more searching to do," said Naruto before walking away with a sigh. "Where are you going?" asked Sasuke. "To do my own research. Don't let it bother you too much, you should focus on training for now, especially with your Sharingan," said Naruto before leaving. Naruto was making his way to the exit of the Uchiha clan district only for Mikoto's soul to catch up to him. "There you are, Mikoto. Come on, I need to head back and check up on our friend," said Naruto before he and the soul of the Uchiha matriarch vanished. Line break. "Well, Hiruzen, what have you requested my presence for?" asked Danzo as he entered the Hokage's office. "Before I get to that, Danzo, I know you have a great capacity for lying and deceit, but I demand the truth as your Hokage," started Hiruzen, causing Danzo to crack his eye open slightly in surprise. "Have you approached Naruto and suggested the idea of training to him?" asked Hiruzen, causing Danzo's eye to narrow slightly again. "I suppose you wouldn't believe me if I said I had not, even though it is the truth," commented Danzo cautiously. "That depends. If you were to train Naruto, what do you believe he should learn first?" asked Hiruzen. "The obvious answer for any Jinchuriki would be ninjutsu, to fully utilize the massive chakra of their tailed beast," answered Danzo. "I see, Danzo, I will allow you to train Naruto in some aspects of ninjutsu for the year. This is conditional on the fact that you also find someone to train him in the use of poisons and medical ninjutsu, of which I will also find my own tutor for each domain to teach him as well," said Hiruzen, causing Danzo to close his eye again and frown slightly. "What use does medical ninjutsu serve a Jinchuriki? A complete waste of time. Furthermore, poisons would at best have minimal effect," questioned Danzo in disdain. "Those are my terms," replied Hiruzen firmly. Danzo took a moment to think about this before giving his response. "While short-sighted, I find those terms agreeable," said Danzo. "In that case, I would like you to report to me who you will use to train him before commencing," requested Hiruzen. "I will cover the ninjutsu portion, Torinaburam will cover the poison portion, and Majire will cover his medical training," said Danzo. "I see, and you just happen to have these names prepared with no notice?" questioned Hiruzen suspiciously. "I know my soldiers, Hiruzen," said Danzo. "As do I, Danzo, all of them, even you. You would do well to remember that," said Hiruzen pointedly. "I will arrange for Naruto to meet you here tomorrow. You can begin instructing while I consult with my own choices for Naruto's tutors," said Hiruzen. "Very well," said Danzo calmly before leaving without a fuss. Line break, hummed Naruto, noting a close proximity of shinobi around the red light district, seemingly taking up positions around his house. "Well Mikoto, it seems something is happening. I would strongly recommend you remain here for the next day or so until I return," advised Naruto, causing the soul of Mikoto to move up and down. Naruto quickly tidied up the lab before stepping out and making his way back to the manhole, refraining from using chakra so as to not alert his new watchers about his secret hideout. "I'm almost sure these people are Danzo's Anbu, but why would the old man be okay with them being so obvious? I doubt they've actually caught on to my ultimate plan. Is this the training they are going with? I really doubt those two would be able to come to an agreement on anything, let alone something as polarizing as myself. Oh well, guess I'll just need to find out for myself," thought Naruto as he popped the manhole open and entered the village again. It was currently late, but not too late, as the last few rays of the sunset were still illuminating the village. It wouldn't be too strange for Naruto to still be out and about at this time, but it would probably be a good idea for him to go home soon. The trick was how to do so without giving too much away to what he assumed was Danzo's men. After all, Naruto entering through his usual method would surely raise questions and bring into doubt just how skilled he was. Even entering through the window would raise some eyebrows. That being said, he did have a failsafe in place, just in case. Entering the red light district, Naruto noticed the increased level of activity for the current time. Normally, the early evening would not feature so many people, generally waiting for the cover of darkness to engage in debauchery. It was as Naruto fully entered the district and started to keep track of the actions of those around him that he realized why the district was so busy. So the old man doesn't trust Danzo at all and sent his own people to watch them. Probably me as well, I'd guess. It is a real wonder how a village with two old men who can't trust each other actually managed to keep a place like this going, wondered Naruto in amusement. Naruto eventually made his way to his apartment, noting some of Hiruzen's men had followed, with some watching him while the others eyed Danzo's men. Naruto walked up the stairs to his apartment before leaping off it halfway, grabbing onto a rope hanging down from it. The rope was very short, meaning, unless you stood under the apartment and looked up, you would never find it. Naruto had it rigged to open a small trapdoor into his living room, while also serving as a way for him to escape in case anyone tried to find him. Behavior completely in line with something a prankster would do. Upon entering his abode, Naruto found that the Anbu had not infiltrated, something which surprised Naruto, but with everyone watching everyone, a big move would be illogical right now. "Oh man, I'm beat you on time to get some rest," said Naruto aloud before heading to his bed and going to sleep, knowing dozens of people were watching him. Line break. Naruto awoke the next morning to find his guard had not lessened. If anything, now there were more people watching him strangely enough. It was almost as though his life was a show and these people were his viewers. It did make Naruto wonder how so many people could enjoy staring at a building with a person asleep inside it, but that wasn't Naruto's issue. It was time to make an impact, although Naruto hadn't decided how yet. A big flashy display, or something suggesting it his true intellect. Whatever the case, he was interested to see who would be training him. After all, he was always open to learning from skilled individuals. But that being said, Naruto questioned the skill and for that matter intelligence of the average individual in this village, but surely those handpicked by experts in their field would be good enough. Naruto had just stepped outside when he immediately felt two Anbu leave. No doubt, each one going to alert their leader, in this case, Hiruzen and Danzo. It was strange that Naruto felt so comfortable being watched by those whose demise he was secretly plotting. Naruto noted with some amusement that if they could read his thoughts, they wouldn't be so keen on teaching him anything. Not really having much to do, Naruto got himself some ramen and waited for his eventual summoning. It didn't take long, as after 2 bowls, an Anbu agent made themselves known to Naruto, intervening in the moment Naruto had finished his bowl, and Ichiraku had taken it back to wash, while AM attended to another customer. "Naruto Uzumaki, your presence is requested at the Hokage Tower," said the Anbu in a business-like tone. Naruto wasn't entirely sure if this Anbu was Danzo's or Hiruzen's, as the mask seemed rather plain, but did have some design to it. Naruto merely shrugged this off though, deeming it not important at this time. But I didn't do anything. Protested Naruto. If Naruto could see their face, he would have seen the Anbu raise an eyebrow. That Naruto's first response was defensive. "You aren't in trouble," said the Anbu. Naruto questioned how the Anbu knew this, given it wasn't customary to tell an Anbu why they had been sent to retrieve someone. This led Naruto to conclude they were either of very high rank or were one of Hiruzen's personal guard, who likely would have been present when this matter was discussed. Maybe they have shifts to look after the old man, thought Naruto, before nodding his consent to the Anbu, who quickly whisked them both away to the Hokage Tower in a single body flicker. "Wow, that was so fast," exclaimed Naruto, inwardly impressed with the Anbu's abilities. The Anbu didn't say anything, simply gesturing for Naruto to follow him. Naruto was quickly led up the Hokage Tower, with the Anbu knocking twice at the door. "Enter," said Sarutobi, before the Anbu let them both into the room. Inside the room were Danzo and Hiruzen, both waiting expectantly for Naruto it would seem. "Ah Naruto, how are you?" greeted Hiruzen. "Great, what's up?" "I didn't do anything wrong did I?" asked Naruto. "Oh no, quite the opposite. Do you recall how yesterday you expressed your desire for some training?" asked Hiruzen, causing Naruto to perk up. "No way, really? You're going to teach me?" asked Naruto. "Ah, not quite I'm afraid. I simply wouldn't have the time to properly supervise you, but both Danzo and I have arranged a few suitable instructors," said Hiruzen, before turning to Danzo. "I will train you in ninjutsu. 2 of my associates will also train you in medical jutsu and the use of poisons. I will have one of my shinobi gather you when it is time for a lesson. You will train under me and my associates 3 times a week for 2 hours each day per tutor," said Danzo, before turning back to Hiruzen. "On alternating days, you will train with those I have handpicked for a similar duration. You will also still have a day to yourself to rest and enjoy yourself. Does that sound acceptable to you, Naruto?" asked Hiruzen. "Acceptable? It sounds awesome," exclaimed Naruto. Danzo frowned at the emotional outburst, while Hiruzen smiled. "In that case, I will leave you to it, Naruto. Danzo has requested an extra hour today to introduce you to your tutors, as well as make clear his expectations of you. Of course, if you believe anything is too unreasonable, come to me directly," said Hiruzen kindly. Danzo internally snorted at this but understood Hiruzen's message. He wouldn't be able to indoctrinate Naruto into root properly, but he would be allowed to mold him a certain way. "Come with me," said Danzo simply, before leaving the office, expecting Naruto to follow. Naruto spared a glance for the Anbu to his right before giving the Hokage a wave as he followed after the other wizened man. The Anbu who had led Naruto here closed the door and waited for further instruction. "Remove your mask please," requested Hiruzen, to which the Anbu officer complied, revealing a pair of mismatched eyes. "Kakashi, with what has happened recently, I believe there is another role better suited for you. I thank you for your years of service in Anbu, but I would like you to take a more active role as a teacher, in this case, a tutor. I would like you to teach Naruto ninjutsu and also ensure he is not swayed by Danzo's teaching. This will be a year-long mission, should you choose to accept," said Hiruzen. Kakashi looked down at his mask and thought. Kakashi had failed to teach Itachi the importance of friendship and it had disastrous consequences. With someone with as much potential as Naruto, the same outcome would lead to far graver consequences. With this in mind, Kakashi made his decision easily. "I accept, Lord Hokage," said Kakashi, placing his mask on the Hokage's desk and bowing. "Take some time to rest, Kakashi. I will see to it that Naruto comes to you last so you can also keep me updated on his progress. You will have 6 days including today to rest and prepare. I would like a weekly oral report at the end of your day of training and a monthly written one the day after that. Good luck, Kakashi," said Sarutobi, to which Kakashi nodded before leaving with a body flicker. "Nico, please retrieve Anko Mitarashi for me," requested Hiruzen, causing a purple-haired Anbu member to appear in front of him and kneel. The curt nod was all the response provided before the Anbu also disappeared in a body flicker. Line break. Naruto followed Danzo quietly, gauging the man. He was deliberately taking the least common roads, and Naruto could feel that as he traveled, an entourage of Anbu followed unseen. Eventually, Naruto was led to a more secluded part of the village, making Naruto question what was about to happen. If they wanted to kill him now, he would be powerless to fight back against the group and no other ninja were in sight. Luckily for Naruto, it was not his death that was planned, but rather, this was the jump point to their next location. The group of Anbu who had been trailing them made themselves known, the 12 of them dropping down and approaching the 2 in the center, before the entire group vanished in a collective body flicker. When the new scene was revealed, Naruto thought for a moment they had taken him into the sewers, but it was too clean to be the case. Naruto scrutinized the area and noticed it appeared to be more of an underground base. There was also a path which curved upwards, no doubt, leading back to the surface. Danzo carefully watched the Jinchuriki as he surveyed the place. The entire walk here, Danzo felt as though there was more beneath the surface, and his slow, methodical examination of the area proved it. "Boy, I will speak now and you should listen carefully to what I have to say. It is clear that you are more intelligent than you appear. Hiruzen may be blinded by numerous factors, however, I am not. If you are a threat to this village, I will see to it that you no longer are one way or another. When you are being trained by my associates or myself, you will obey all orders given to you. Is that understood?" said Danzo. "Sure, that's easy," said Naruto with a grin. "Drop this facade of foolishness in my presence," ordered Danzo, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. "Does that mean you want me to act like one of your soldiers, or do you want me to be astute? After all, I may have my own ideas about you and the old man for one thing. For instance, what you really do in the shadows," questioned Naruto. "Leave us," ordered Danzo, causing his soldiers to vanish. "Let me ask you something in turn, what is it that truly makes a village strong?" asked Danzo. "Since the question sounded rhetorical, why don't you tell me?" retorted Naruto. "The roots. The foundation. Whatever you choose to label it, a village is built from the ground up. If the ground is weak, the entire village crumbles," said Danzo. "Let me guess, you are this foundation," commented Naruto. "Indeed. However, in being the roots of a village, darkness surrounds you. It becomes you. You work in the shadows so that those above survive," said Danzo. "I don't know about you, but staying in the shadows forever sounds like a bad deal to me," said Naruto. "It is, which is why eventually I will ascend to the top and you will be my guide," said Danzo. "I know you only have one eye there, but you could be blind and still see I'm no one's ticket to the top," commented Naruto. "Not yet, but you will be. You will take the world by storm with my training, unleashing all of your potential. Then, the roots shall bask in the light," explained Danzo. "What's in it for me? I doubt your training could be so special that I couldn't get it any other way," questioned Naruto skeptically. "Information, the likes of which you couldn't even imagine. Become my weapon, no become my soul eater, and there will be nothing which we cannot accomplish," offered Danzo. "The offer sounds nice, but I wonder how much security that gives me. Once you don't need me anymore, why keep me around?" asked Naruto. "The weapon is still useful even when not in use, if it acts as a deterrent," said Danzo, causing Naruto to pause for a moment. "So, essentially, you don't care what I do, just as long as I keep the other villages scared of me?" asked Naruto, only for Danzo to nod. "Well, who can say no to that, I'm in," said Naruto, causing Danzo's expression to change ever so slightly, forming the beginnings of a victorious smirk. Line break. Following Naruto's introduction to the rest of Danzo's foundation, otherwise known as Root, Naruto went home to rest. Naruto realized that Danzo was clearly an obvious double-edged sword, where he would assist him, but only as much as it assisted him, and if Naruto's true motives were revealed, Danzo would stop at nothing to put him down. However, that being said, Danzo wanted a boogeyman, someone to scare the other villages. Naruto had no problem with that, as he already was the demon of the leaf, adding a few more villages to the list wouldn't be an issue. After all, he didn't want friends, he wanted to destroy his enemies, in no particular order. He could rise to fame in the leaf before setting it ablaze, or he could use them as an example. Only time would tell. Line break. The next morning, Naruto was told by one of the Hokages Anbu to go to the hospital, where he would meet his instructor in medical ninjutsu. Naruto was quite skeptical of finding anyone in this village who knew more about healing than him, but he was always willing to learn. After all, there may even be something valuable hidden in this cancerous village. As soon as Naruto entered the hospital, he noticed the patients all seemed to glance at him. It was in fact the first time Naruto had set foot into a hospital, having never been unwell or suffered an injury, which didn't heal within hours at the very latest. Seeing the reception desk in front of him, Naruto picked it as the obvious choice to acquire information. Making his way to the desk, Naruto noticed the clerk looked quite busy, looking over two separate sets of files, while also typing on a computer at the same time. Naruto stood in front of the woman, waiting patiently for her to notice him. After about a minute, the woman looked up and finally noticed him. "Hello there, may I help you?" asked the woman kindly. Naruto was inwardly surprised at the politeness of the individual, having only received disdain from the villagers, barring the Hokage, Tuchi and Am. "I was told to come here for training in medical ninjutsu," explained Naruto. "I see, my name is Raiko, and while I will not be your instructor, I will show you around briefly," said the woman, before leaving the desk and walking out to the side, a replacement quickly stepping in to take her place at the desk. Naruto blinked at this, before following Raiko who gestured for him to follow. "So why have you decided to learn medical ninjutsu? It is quite a challenging skill to master and requires much training," asked Raiko. Naruto paused for a minute to study the woman while he processed her question. She appeared to be in her mid-20s and was about half a meter taller than Naruto. She had long brown hair, the majority of which was braided and hung down her left side, with a small amount left free on the right, hanging down to just above her chest, framing her face. She also appeared to be in good shape, no signs of undereating or undernutrition, which Naruto knew was common in kunoichi who weren't serious about training. In fact, she appeared by all indications to be quite healthy, if the not-so-subtle curves of her chest and bottom were any indication. Naruto looked up at her face, noting her brown eyes were not staring at Naruto, waiting for answer, but rather, were looking ahead. At this point, Naruto had to question if this woman even knew who Naruto was, given how comfortable she seemed with him. Finishing his analysis of the woman, Naruto answered her question. I want to be able to help those close to me. If they are injured, I want to be able to help. Said Naruto. Raiko hummed at this appraisingly and despite himself, Naruto was curious to hear her thoughts on the matter, having been relatively honest. That is admirable. Looking after those close to you is often harder than looking after strangers. It might sound strange, you would think looking after your friends and loved ones would be easier than looking after someone you've never gotten to know, but that also means you are the one who needs to see them in pain. It is even worse if you aren't able to help them, as then you take the failure personally. Have you given much thought on that? Asked Raiko. Truthfully, Naruto hadn't, but he doubted with all his abilities and experimental techniques that there was anything he couldn't fix. No, but that just means I need to learn more and try other things. Eventually I'll be able to fix anything, believe it. Said Naruto. Raiko smiled at Naruto's answer, causing Naruto to wonder if he had said the right thing or not. I see. Well then, I hope you succeed, Naruto. It would be nice if everyone could be well. Said Raiko, before knocking on the door. Just a moment. Said a voice from behind the door, before movement was heard. I never told you my name. Commented Naruto, causing the woman to smile. I remember every child I've looked after in this hospital, Naruto Uzumaki. I'd be a poor medical director if I didn't. Said Raiko, surprising Naruto. Director Naori, I didn't expect you to be here. Said a youthful boy with ash-gray hair upon opening the door. I was just bringing young Naruto here to see you. Said Raiko, gesturing to the boy beside her. The boy pushed up his black-rimmed circular glasses, which seemed to gleam slightly, before focusing his gaze on Naruto. Hello there, Naruto, my name is Kabuto Yakushi, but you can call me Kabuto. I'll be your medical ninjutsu instructor. Greeted the boy. Chapter 9 Slices of Life. So Naruto, it isn't common for children your age to be interested in medical ninjutsu. Said Kabuto. Why's that? Asked Naruto. Well, most kids like big flashy jutsu. Said Kabuto. Yeah, but even if you have big flashy jutsu, if you come home and celebrate with a bowl of ramen that was poisoned, the big flashy jutsu aren't going to help you. Retorted Naruto. Well, you are not wrong there. Although, we won't be working on poisons here, I think you have a different pair of instructors for that. We will be looking at healing damage. Said Kabuto. But isn't poisoning damage too, even if it is inside? Questioned Naruto. It is. I see you are sharper than I had been expecting, young Naruto. Let me clarify then, we will be focusing on how to use medical ninjutsu to heal injuries which compromise functioning if damaged, skin, muscle, nerves, blood vessels, bones. While poisons can affect these things, it does not affect the structure of the tissue, it affects the contents of the tissue. Elaborated Kabuto. Oh, so it is like we are knitting then. Said Naruto. An apt analogy. Even if the material changes color or consistency, medical ninjutsu brings the material together. Said Kabuto. Isn't that dangerous? If something gets infected, isn't it better to just cut it off so it doesn't spread? Asked Naruto. Normally, yes, but for a shinobi, once you lose a finger, your abilities are compromised forever. For that reason, maintaining the structure is our main goal. Tissue damage can be healed later, and the body, given enough time and nutrients, can overcome almost anything. Said Kabuto. I see, I guess that makes sense, but wouldn't it be better if you could just cut the finger off and grow a new one and stick it on? Asked Naruto. Well, young Naruto, if you can figure out a way to do that, the ninja world would bow to you, as no one has been able to accomplish such a thing before to any great success. Said Kabuto. Then let's get started. Declared Naruto. Line break. The next day, Naruto found himself back in the dark underground of Root. Fully having expected Danzo to be his next instructor, Naruto was surprised to see a masked individual in black garb. I am Torin Aburum. I will be your poison instructor. Said the man, before turning and walking away. Following the prompt, Naruto followed the man as he led them to a small room filled with cages of varying sizes with different animals in them. Torin walked over to a small metal cabinet and opened one of the drawers, withdrawing 2 scrolls, 2 vials and numerous syringes. Naruto curiously walked over to the cabinet as Torin stepped aside. Naruto picked up the first vial and noted the liquid was clear and colorless. Placing it down and picking up the second one, Naruto noticed it was a clear purple. Torin then returned and placed a small white mouse on the table. The mouse looks slightly sedated but otherwise healthy. These mice have no capacity to create antibodies. Any poison will kill them without an antidote. We will trial a new poison every month, and on the last day of the month you will be the subject. While it is unlikely any poison will be strong enough to kill you, enduring the full dose of many will lead to consequences. Consider these mice an extension of yourself. With each death, your risk of death rises. All the components of both the poison and the antidote are in front of you and contained within the shelves of this cabinet. You find the right combination, or the bodies pile up, just like in real life. I will answer one question a day about each poison. Any questions? Asked Torin. Do any of these poisons not have an antidote already? Asked Naruto. Yes. Said Torin, before moving to the back of the room and taking a seat as Naruto was left to his task. Line break. Naruto was led to the torture and interrogation unit of the Leaf Village by an Anbu. And you are sure I'm not in trouble? Asked Naruto for the 5th time, causing the Anbu escorting him to sigh. No Naruto, you are not in trouble. Said the purple-haired Anbu for the 5th time. Okay, I'm just making sure. If you are lying to me, there aren't that many purple-haired Anbu around I will avoid you. Said Naruto. Funny you say that. Said the Anbu as they finally met their target, another purple-haired woman. The woman was wearing a sleeveless chainmail shirt with a tan skirt and tan trench coat over the top, in addition to a pair of knee-length boots with shin guards. So this is my new minion, eh? Not much to look at. What's the matter kid, cat got your tongue? Asked the woman, noticing Naruto staring at her. Anbu lady doesn't have my tongue, I'm just trying to figure something out. Are you a twit? Asked Naruto. Twit? Asked the lady in confusion. Teenage woman in her 30s. Clarified Naruto. The hell? I am a teenager. Said the lady indignantly. Oh then why are you trying to look like an older lady trying to look like a younger one? Why not just look like yourself then? Asked Naruto. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Asked the lady. I mean, why don't you just act your age if you are really a teenager and aren't lying to me? Questioned Naruto, looking at her with narrowed eyes. I am acting my age. Exclaimed the woman. Now you are acting my age, are you doing it for attention? Asked Naruto. Well, I will leave him in your care, Anko. Said the Anbu before leaving the pair. Hey kid, who do you think you are talking to me like that? Asked the now named Anko. Just someone who realizes when someone is trying to act a certain way. It's like those kids who try to act like adults, but you're doing it the other way around. Said Naruto. Oh, we are going to have so much fun together. Said Anko, with an evil chuckle. So are you the poison expert then? Asked Naruto. What makes you ask that? Asked Anko. Because you don't need to confuse people with your appearance for big explosive ninjutsu, but it can get you close enough to poison someone's ramen. Said Naruto. You're a weird kid, you know that? Asked Anko. I bet people told you that when you were my age too. Retorted Naruto. Actually, you are already weirder and at a younger age than I was when people started saying that. Said Anko. Okay then, if I am already better at being weird than you, then let's get on with the poisons, so I can beat you there too. Said Naruto. We'll see. Said Anko. Line break. Naruto again found himself in the dank basement that was Root, only this time he stood in front of the leader. How is your training progressing so far? Asked Danzo. Why ask me, don't you know already? Asked Naruto. I seek your opinion for collateral information. Said Danzo. I think it is going well. I like poisons, and they are easy to use once you figure out the solution to making an antidote. Said Naruto. Very well, we shall start the ninjutsu training in earnest now. I will defeat you with 1 kunai and 1 shuriken, and you must attempt to do the same. Said Danzo. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this, before matching Danzo, who withdrew a kunai and shuriken. Danzo threw the kunai at Naruto, before making a set of one-handed seals, before the 1 kunai became 30. Naruto ducked down before doing a somersault, letting the kunai pass below him before coming to land in front of them. Danzo then followed this up by throwing the shuriken and made 2 different sets of hand signs before locking his right hand with his fingers against the palm, with the thumb and pinky extended. Naruto saw the shuriken multiple as the kunai had before they were propelled by a gust of wind. Unlike the kunai, the shuriken were more spread out and left Naruto no space to dodge. Realizing he needed to use the environment to his advantage, Naruto used his small stature to lower himself between the embedded kunai. The shuriken clashed with the kunai, causing them to ricochet off and miss Naruto for the most part, sustaining only a few stray grazes. From his place on the ground, Naruto noticed Danzo had yet to move from his spot and seemed to be waiting for his retaliation. Naruto quickly picked up the kunai around him and started to throw them in an arc heading towards Danzo. Naruto tried to mimic the hand signs Danzo had used but was unsuccessful, only managing to emulate a small gust of wind. Danzo put his hand out and a stronger gust of wind broke through the barrage, only for a kunai to be thrown from above by Naruto. Danzo raised his hand and prepared to blow away the kunai, only for Naruto to throw his shuriken at Danzo's legs. Danzo to his credit was undeterred and split his hands up, aiming one hand down and the other up, before two weak blasts of wind deflected Naruto's weapons. "You're a fast learner it seems," commented Danzo. "And you've learned more tricks than most people," said Naruto. "As will you. We will now repeat the exercise," said Danzo. Naruto exhaled at this, resolving to move Danzo this time around. Not giving Danzo the chance to start the offensive this time, Naruto charged at Danzo. The wizened man seemed to frown at this, seeing Naruto pull out his kunai and prepare for a slash. Danzo returned his strike with one of his own, before noticing Naruto had his shuriken held in his other hand, which he jabbed out at him with. Momentarily surprised at the unorthodox tactic, Danzo used his own shuriken to deflect the punch, covering the sharp device in a thin coat of wind. It seemed Naruto's punch was a feint though as he opened his hand into a knife-edge chop, hooking the shuriken around his middle finger. Naruto sustained a long slash along his forearm, but managed to cut Danzo's sleeve in the process. Danzo raised his leg and kicked Naruto back. "Got you," said Naruto triumphantly, even as he rubbed his bleeding wound, stemming the blood loss slowly as his skin stitched itself back together. "You sustained an injury and did not inflict one," commented Danzo. "Are you sure? Maybe we should try one more time then," challenged Naruto, drawing another kunai. Danzo didn't let Naruto take the initiative this time and breathed on his shuriken, turning it into a meter-long wind shuriken with a metal core, which he then threw at Naruto. Naruto smiled and rushed towards the incoming shuriken, ducking under it and hooking his kunai in the center and giving a spin before throwing it back at Danzo. Danzo took his kunai out and bathed the blade in wind, preparing to deflect the shuriken, only for his hand to spasm momentarily. Naruto saw the spasm and threw his kunai and shuriken out at either side of Danzo. Danzo conceded the defeat and leapt to the side, causing the three projectiles to miss him. "I see your progress is going well then," said Danzo in acknowledgement. "You haven't seen anything yet," said Naruto as he withdrew another kunai and shuriken. Line break. After Naruto's battle with Danzo, Naruto found himself sitting in front of an individual wearing a monocle and white lab coat. "So you've learned how to use poison and weapons. Your healing technique looks sloppy though," said Mijire, the assigned medical trainer from Root. "Well, it is kind of hard to heal when you regenerate before you get the chance," said Naruto. "Is that so? Then I need to work on something to help with that, that's all," said the man, before gesturing for Naruto to follow him. "What are we doing today?" asked Naruto. "Practical applications, that's all," said Mijire, before leading him to a large mess hall where many masked individuals were locked in combat. "What is this? Cheap manual labor?" asked Naruto, only for Mijire to smirk. "It's a competition, that's all," said Mijire. Line break. Naruto was currently healing a gray-haired individual before noticing he seemed to be healing slower than the others. "You're sick, aren't you?" asked Naruto quietly. "We are all dying, just some of us at different rates," said the Root agent. "You're not wrong, but you should try and slow it down," said Naruto, before his technique seemed to change and the agent healed at an accelerated rate, something which Mijire noticed out of the corner of his eye. "All done," said Naruto, before moving on to the next individual. Line break. As Naruto waited in a training ground with Kat standing across from him, Naruto found himself getting bored. Finding himself bored of surveying the surroundings, Naruto started to appraise Kat. "So, do you and Anko go to the same hairdresser?" asked Naruto, causing the Anbu to quirk their head in his direction. "I mean no one else has purple hair in the whole village," added Naruto, answering the unasked question. "Our hair color is natural," said the Anbu. "All the more reason to have the same hairdresser. Doesn't purple hair need special care or something?" asked Naruto. "No," said the Anbu flatly. "Yo," said a silver-haired man, casually approaching the pair. "See, if you don't look after your hair, it will go silver," said Naruto. "Go silver? This is my natural hair color," said the man. "Have fun," said the purple-haired Anbu before leaving. "So wait, you were born with silver hair?" asked Naruto disbelievingly. "I don't know. Probably," said the man with a shrug. "How can you not know?" asked Naruto. "Well, I don't remember much from when I was born," said the man. "Oh. How do you know you didn't just have blue hair and then got exposed to radiation and it turned your hair silver?" asked Naruto. I don't," said the silver-haired man. Naruto hummed at this and seemed to mull this over. "So what are you going to teach me?" asked Naruto. "Manners apparently," said the man. "What do you mean?" "You know I'm Naruto and I know you are the only guy in this village with silver hair," said Naruto. "So what do you plan to address me by?" asked the man. "I was thinking silver-haired guy," said Naruto. "It is Kakashi Haddock," said the man. "Whatever hat man, or should I call you mask guy?" said Naruto thoughtfully. "Well, if you want to learn any ninjutsu, how about you try calling me sensei for a change?" said Kakashi. Asked Sensei. Sure, I can do that. Said Naruto. So what do you know so far? Asked Kakashi. Nah, you tell me what you want to teach me first. I'm not supposed to share what I learn with other people, it is all a secret. You wouldn't like it if I told Anko what you teach me. Said Naruto, crossing his arms over his chest. Well, I guess a ninja is entitled to their secrets. Said Kakashi. So what are we going to do then? Asked Naruto. Why don't we play a game of tag, you're it? Said Kakashi, before appearing behind Naruto and patting him on the head. Tag? Said Naruto, as Kakashi walked over to a lake, before literally walking over the lake. What the hell? Exclaimed Naruto. Loser pays for lunch. Said Kakashi, causing Naruto to run to the lake and jump in, before swimming across to Kakashi. Just as Naruto was about to reach Kakashi, a small wave rippled out and pushed him back to the edge of the lake. Hey, you didn't say we could use chakra. Protested Naruto. Kakashi raised his eyebrow, wondering if Naruto had already learned the water walking technique, only for Naruto to slap his hands on the water and go flying into the air with a boost of chakra. As the blonde and orange missile neared Kakashi, he jumped backwards, leaving Naruto to belly flop onto the water, but remained stuck to the surface, with ripples spiraling outwards. You can't escape. Said Naruto, before using another blast of chakra to launch him forward. Line break. Look on the bright side, at least you don't need a shower tonight. Said Kakashi, as a drenched Naruto sat on the grass. Very funny. Said Naruto. Now then, time for you to buy me lunch. Said Kakashi. Fine, but I'm choosing where we eat. Said Naruto. The pair walked to the only indoor location Naruto actually liked, Ichiraku Ramen. As Naruto started to eat, he noticed Kakashi still had his mask on. Aren't you going to take it off to eat? Asked Naruto. Take what off? Asked Kakashi. What do you think? Retorted Naruto dryly. Oh, of course, how rude of me. Said Kakashi, before taking off his gloves. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the gloves, before looking back and noticing the bowl was now empty. Well, I need to get going now, see you in a week. Said Kakashi, as he put his gloves back on, before exiting the stand. Line break. Well Kakashi, how is his progress going? Asked Hiruzen, taking a puff from his pipe. He is certainly unorthodox, but that may work in his favor. Said Kakashi. Elaborate. Said Hiruzen, locking eyes with Kakashi. Well, he can't water walk, but he can propel himself on water with wind chakra. Said Kakashi, causing Hiruzen to tilt his pipe down. I see. I often think about how things could have been different if Danzo didn't surround himself in the shadows. Said Hiruzen. Are you okay with this? Asked Kakashi. I don't know yet. This is a trial more than anything. Who the trial is for, I wonder if Naruto can bring Danzo into the light, it speaks deeply of the pair of them. Said Hiruzen. Can we really leave Naruto under Danzo's tutelage? Well, you can expressly end Danzo's formal right to train Naruto, who is to say Naruto doesn't seek him out? Asked Kakashi. True, I had already anticipated Naruto would still want some training outside of the academy, but I also doubt he will neglect his studies with medical ninjutsu or poisons. It would just continue as an unofficial arrangement. Said Hiruzen. Do you worry about the perceived favoritism? Asked Kakashi. Not if Danzo benefits. Aside from myself, no one else in this village can match Danzo's esteem or outspokenness to what should be done with young Naruto. Even Jiraiya is not able to override Danzo, at least for now. Kakashi, I had hoped for Naruto to be placed on your team when the time comes, but it may not be possible. Is there another jounin you believe would be able to work well with you as well as Danzo? Asked Hiruzen. A rhetorical question, as I'm sure you know there is only one uniquely suited for this role. Said Kakashi. Do you think he is ready? Asked Hiruzen. No, he will need a few years to restructure, but I doubt you plan for Naruto to graduate early in any case. Said Kakashi. Fair enough. You're dismissed. Said Hiruzen, placing the pipe back into his mouth as Kakashi vanished in a swirl of leaves. Line break. It was finally Naruto's day off and for once he didn't feel the need to train, having found a great deal of his success with his assigned tutors. While each one only tested the surface of Naruto's true knowledge, Naruto suspected at least half of them knew he was keeping a lot beneath the surface. Even with Danzo's suggestion to not use his mask around the man, Naruto knew both of them understood he was still hiding some things. It was with this knowledge that Naruto made his way to the Uchiha clan district. It didn't take Naruto very long to find Sasuke, as he seemed to be clearing out the attics of a bunch of buildings. Yo, Sasuke. Said Naruto, causing the boy to bump his head on a wooden beam and curse up a storm. What do you want? Asked Sasuke. I'm going to join the academy next year. Said Naruto. And you are telling me this because, said Sasuke with a confused glance. Because I want you to go too. Said Naruto. Why? It's a complete waste of time. Retorted Sasuke. No, that's what happens when you wear a dozen wristwatches as a belt. As for the first part, you need to join because we both need a rival. Also, you can't just keep moving dusty books around if you want to get to the truth of things," said Naruto. "That's not the first time you said something like that. What would a kid like you know?" asked Sasuke. "Does it matter? You know I know something that you want to know, just listen to me and trust that I have your best interests at heart. If it helps, just think of me as family," said Naruto. "Considering what my family did, I don't want to think of you as family," said Sasuke dryly. "Fine, then consider me your competition," said Naruto. "I don't understand you at all," said Sasuke with a shake of his head. "Well, you don't have to. You just need to listen and trust me. Be honest, who else can you trust in this village?" pointed out Naruto. "Fine, I'll go to the academy, but in return, we need to train or spar at the end of every day. I know you are hiding things from me, but you can at least help me get stronger if I have to put up with your annoying face," said Sasuke. You know, I accept, I need a good punching bag and you're probably the best I can get," said Naruto, surprising Sasuke at his agreement before processing the second part of the sentence. "You wish you're going to be my punching bag, don't forget, I have the Sharingan," said Sasuke, momentarily activating his eyes. "And don't you forget, so do I," said Naruto, showing his slightly more advanced Sharingan with 2 Tomo in each eye to Sasuke's 1 in the left and 2 in the right. Whatever. "Did you have any luck finding out about your lineage?" asked Sasuke. "No, I'm still missing a piece of the puzzle, but I have a theory, I just can't confirm it," admitted Naruto. "And how are you going to do that?" asked Sasuke. "No spoilers now, just know that for every special skill, there is usually a similar counterpart," said Naruto. Line break. Having turned 8 a few weeks ago, Naruto was ready to start his new life as an academy student. It was as he made his way for the registration ceremony, trudging through the thin layer of snow surrounding him, that he noticed a little altercation. "Weirdo," said a child before the sound of a thud was heard. Naruto made his way to the sound of the disturbance and noticed 3 boys were crowding around a girl who was sitting on the cold snow. "You look like a ghost," said another child, poking his finger out at the girl, causing her to withdraw. "And you look like a snowman," said Naruto. "Huh?" said the boy as he turned to face the direction he had heard the voice from, only for a massive snowball to smash into his face and knock him off his feet. 3 against 1 doesn't seem fair," continued Naruto, bouncing a snowball in his hand. "There are 4 people watching us and 3 feel like the girl. What is this, some kind of test?" thought Naruto, noting there were quite a few observers who weren't intervening. "Dead him," said one of the other kids. Naruto laughed and ran at the 2 boys, while the third picked himself up just in time to see Naruto kick one in the knee, causing him to fall to his knees before dodging a punch from the other one and slamming an elbow into his back, sending him into his fellow attacker. Having seen the ease with which his friends had been taken down, the third tried to run, only for Naruto to throw a snowball at the back of his knee, causing his leg to give out. Naruto was then on top of the kid in an instant, pressing his foot into the small of his back enough to make him whine in pain. Meanwhile, the girl who Naruto had just saved looked at him with wide eyes. "Well, are you going to stand up for yourself or not?" asked Naruto, raising an eyebrow. The girl stared at Naruto blankly, trying to form a response. "You've got 2 options in life, either become nice enough that no one would ever dream of hurting you, or strong enough that no one would ever believe they can hurt you. Bullies don't always respect the first option though," said Naruto. "I don't want anyone to get hurt," said the girl quietly. "That's nice. Once you decide to deal with the reality of the world, we should talk, maybe you could use a hand, since it seems like no one else is brave enough to help you out," said Naruto, causing those watching to startle at Naruto being aware of their presence. "Either way, better get a move on before these guys get up," said Naruto, taking his foot off the back of his vanquished foe before giving him a kick in the guts, causing him to cough out spittle and curl up into a ball. With his piece done, Naruto made his way to the academy, only to find Sasuke waiting at the entrance. "What kept you?" asked Sasuke. "Just evening the playing field is all, it wouldn't be fair if the only special eyes you deal with are your own. You could use the practice as well," said Naruto before the pair entered the academy for registration. What if Naruto has senju Uchiha Uzumaki bloodline? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.